astray, caught up in the games they play. High-speed chases gone awry, serious turns into pie in the sky. Just out of jurisdiction, laughter and a conviction. Beneath the badge of misguided fiction, here comes the twisted depiction.
All right. Everybody good?
I'm ready.
We good?
Yeah.
Good. All right. We're back with you guys. We got 2 guests with us today. Jake's back with us, and we've got going to try attempt number 2 here with Joey, since our first attempt failed so miserably.
It's just my luck. You know?
He is he's a black cloud, so
The black
that's
cloud
not
ship.
surprising.
It still follows me.
Yeah, it's not surprising that he tore up the recorder the last time he was here. So
That's
Just part of
tear
the
up an
Joey
anvil
run.
with a toothpick.
no, yeah, that's true. I had a blowout last week on the interstate, middle of the night. Now
It happens.
Yeah.
Happens
with-
to you a lot, blowouts. or
Oh
something-
yeah.
something crazy.
Without further ado, we've got Joey Robinson back with us, and
Back for the first time.
back for the first time. Yeah, we'll try and piece in some of his original interview
We'll see.
here and there. We'll see what happens. But
Yeah, welcome. We're glad you're here. Well, Joey, worked with him for what, 3 or 4 years, I guess. At the PD.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
2.
2.5.
Interesting.
Oh
fun
no,
years.
it felt like 10 years.
Yeah, it did. So we had some good times, that's for sure. So we'll.
Actually, I think it was 3 years. I came over in 2020 and left in 23.
Yeah, but I left in 23.
The end of,
I
yeah.
left in 23.
Yeah,
I
you
think
left.
we all left in 23.
Yeah, it was like month after month after
Some
month.
quicker than others.
This is yes. This is the closest I think that we're going to get to getting the squad back together, as
Yeah.
far as
I mean, this is-
what it was and its entity. But so let's go back. Let's start. How did you get into policing?
So like when I was in high school, I studied like I wanted to be a firefighter. I about said fire tard. That's just the normal
Well,
lingo.
that is yeah.
But
It is what they are.
I wanted to do that, and in high school I was studying my EMT classes. When I graduated high school, I remember I graduated on Saturday. The following Monday, I started riding the buggy, and then dispatching within the same week. I started dispatching the ambulance service. Then I done a little 6-month stint full time at the fire department while I still worked at the ambulance service, and then dispatched. And then I done court security when I first turned 21. I done court security for 6 months or less, and I just couldn't. I couldn't sit in the building.
I couldn't imagine that you would have a hard time sitting in one
I
spot.
struggled, and it wasn't a terrible job. I'm just not lazy. I can't sit there and just check people in. And then I went back to EMS after I quit that, where I stayed at EMS pretty much the whole time, just worked part-time, other jobs. And then in 2018, the day my son was born, I got hired on at the sheriff's office.
Yeah. So, to go to the academy or just working?
No, they hired me. A little bit wild. I knew all the radio lingo. I'd rode with several guys back in the day. Mikey Ashurst and Tyler Morris, and I don't remember who else I rode with. While I was dispatching, because I didn't have anything else better to do, and I was a night shift junkie.
Yeah, night owl.
So I started, I think it's on a Monday morning. My first complaint ever was a wreck down in Corbin. I lived in London. And I was sitting there waiting at the sheriff's office. My sergeant I was supposed to be training under, he yells at me on the radio, and I said, go ahead. He said, you care to go ahead and respond to that? So I responded down there, and the whole time he thought I'd been issued a cruiser already. Well, I hadn't been. I was still in my POV. I show up.
Shows up his old beat up pickup
Yeah. I showed up. I had my full get up on, full uniform and stuff. It didn't fit me right. It was leftovers.
Looked like a
Right.
trash bag.
Yeah, it looked pretty rough.
What kind of vehicle did you respond in?
It's a black Chevy Avalanche.
Okay.
Blacked out.
Nothing says police like a black
No.
Chevy Avalanche.
No, I mean,
Did you do the siren out the window?
No, I actually. So
SpongeBob.
I had I think I had lights in it from being on the fire department. I didn't run Signal 9 down there because I didn't want to get in trouble. I was brand new. But when I got there, I turned my lights on. The firefighters may have thought I was a firefighter, and they see me in the uniform. They're like, "What the heck?"
Yeah.
You've completely mind blown everybody.
Yeah. And I started working this rig. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I knew the gist of it. Get all the information. It didn't turn into a fatality, but it was real close. Or it may, I don't remember. But it was real bad. And about an hour later, my sergeant that I was supposed to be riding with shows up. He's like, "Where's your cruiser?" I'm like, "I ain't got one." He said, "Oh my God." Like, he wasn't mad, but he just
Didn't realize
Didn't
it.
realize it.
Well, that's not unusual that you
He
put
wouldn't
out
have-
on the street.
Well, he
and
probably
don't-
wouldn't have sent you. He'd have probably sent somebody else if you didn't.
They wouldn't nobody else. I don't think. So we worked that wreck and come back to the sheriff's office, and they issued me a cruiser and whatever. I rode with him for one day, and then the second day I rode with Grigsby.
Mhm.
He was a good guy. I like
Danville.
Yeah.
Danville detective, right?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
a detective now.
He taught me quite a bit, and then my third day I was on my own.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Third day.
Third day.
That's how it goes with the sheriff's office
Yeah,
here.
at 6 o'clock in the morning, I called. Well, it was before 6. I was out an hour early. You know how I am. As soon as 6 o'clock hit, my first traffic stop.
The first of many.
Yeah, it was at like 6:02 in the morning. I was coming down South 25, and I was like, "That looks like a good one." I didn't have any idea what I was doing. I ran the tag on it. I was like, "This driver may have a warrant." So I found the violation, pulled him over, and it was down there at Ferriston. The jail was the old jail at the time in town, and I'll never forget. I walked up, asked for his driver's license. It was for sure him. I asked him to step out, and he's a big, big guy. And I was like, "Oh my God, this is my first person I'm ever arrested. I was out on my own. I was scared to death."
First traffic stop.
First traffic stop. And whenever I was putting handcuffs on, I was shaking so bad. It's like I couldn't even get them put on the right way.
Oh, I know.
I had no idea. I didn't even know how handcuffs really worked.
It's
I mean, it's just.
You mean you didn't hold
I
them in one
forgot how they
hand
work.
and
See 'em?
step on the back of your...
No,
I have to remind myself every day.
What's this double locking thing? I forget that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I-
I
that's just-
didn't know none of
that's-
that.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much
That's just a suggestion.
how my career started. And then from there is I worked for 6 months. Had a lot of wild experiences before the academy. I went to the academy, and I'm like, it's pretty boring.
How long was it before you went to the academy?
6 months.
6
So,
months.
What you found out in the academy was like, uh-oh.
It had me worried.
I've
Yeah,
done some
Shouldn't have
things
done
I shouldn't have done.
yeah, especially the DUIs.
that's illegal.
You know.
But I
mean,
will say that you having that experience, would you say that it made it easier to understand what was going on in the academy?
Oh, yeah,
And
it made it
you
way
yeah.
easier.
You had more of a grasp on.
The only thing I struggled with in academy was DUI.
Everybody
because
struggles with that.
I
It's
didn't know
just-
none of that stuff. But
That's
I
because it's
charged
so
people with
strict.
DUI.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a
and
lot
what,
of people.
like I yell at somebody that's certified in, they come out and do their thing. They're like, "Yep, they're DUI. Take them to jail."
It's just, man.
I mean, that's
Well,
just,
I mean that would happen a lot anyways because somebody'd lose their certification, they'd
Yeah.
let it lapse, and they'd have to holler at one of
oh,
us to
especially
yeah.
towards the end
come
of
do
our
field
time.
sobriety and
Oh,
all
yeah.
that. So, or run the machine. Can't tell how many times somebody trooper or somebody called and you had to go run the intoxilizer for them at the jail.
That's one thing I never did like. That,
Intoxilizer. I
I
didn't.
mean, I like the purpose of it, but it's so slow and takes forever. I ain't
would-
got the patience for it.
well, and
So you'd rather
that,
go sit at the hospital for 2 or 3 hours, huh?
No, I had to hook up there. I walk in, and usually they-
yeah, I don't think I ever sat there for more than like 30, 45 minutes.
night
maybe.
shift was pretty quick.
And most of that time was reading, implied consent and stuff.
Waiting out the.
It took me forever to type the citations just because I wasn't good at it. And I have to go back and take What am I
That
supposed
never
to put
changed,
here?
did it?
No.
I remember getting all the like sitting at the hospital and asking, if they want their lawyer, call the lawyer, and I would have certain lawyers that they always called on speed dial, basically. Be like,
Yeah.
okay, here you go.
They never answered whenever we were out.
No, not on
it's-
night shift.
I had one that his lawyer was there already, and he walked out and just happened to see him. So he got in the back seat with him and was sitting there talking, and he's like, "Do I need to take this test or what? Do I need to refuse it?" And he goes, "I don't know. Are you drunk?" And he goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "Shut up." He looked at me. He's like, "That's attorney-client privilege." And I was like,
Yeah, okay.
"Not in my back seat. It's not."
The citation says client admitted to
Yeah,
lawyer.
he ended up refusing, but it was
Yeah.
still. I mean,
Classic.
but yeah, blood was better to go with just on the fact that when you went to court, you had it's hard to
yeah.
argue blood.
I always
I mean,
loved.
You could argue so many little different things on the intoxilizer. Was it in?
Any little thing would trip you up.
Was it at .04 or whatever the .4, whatever the increments had to be at? I can't remember now. I barely remember then.
I still don't know.
Yeah.
If I went back now, and I would have to go back through the full 40 hours DUI class. And the first time I took that, because I've not been certified in it in so long,
Ooh,
I would
too.
they're not gonna send me if they like, we're sending you this in service. I'd be like, well, I quit. I mean,
yeah.
Well, I figured out last year because I had to do it. It's only 24 hours.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's,
The reef?
That's
Yeah.
good.
Well,
it's
good.
not too bad.
But that's still though, because I failed it when I was in the academy. I failed the
Oh, they do it in 3 days now.
I
it's
failed
just 3 days.
the I was too fast on the
Nystagmus.
nystagmus. I was counting. You
I
count out.
struggle with that too.
So when you're nervous getting tested on it, and I went through all the steps perfectly, but instead of 1, 2, counting out, what is it, 4 or 5 seconds?
It's a 4 count. Yeah.
4 count. I was like 1, 2, 3, 4. Back over. And it was fine. And I had to retest, but boy, I was nervous because if I failed it again, I was out of the academy.
Yeah.
And there were certain sections. I think DUI sections was you got one shot. It wasn't the skills or nothing like that. But I was like, oh my gosh, one more.
They made
One
it
more
intense, and it was
I'm out.
It was fast paced for us.
And then when I went in there and did it, I think Danny was my subject I was testing, and then they were like, slow down, take your time. And I was counting like for 15 seconds instead. They're like, yeah, I just held it way
That's
out there
good.
forever.
Yeah.
You're good. All right. I was like, gosh, but I was stressing, they put some weird stress on you.
It is definitely different. The stress for the DUI portion for me was the worst. I mean, that's just
Well, there's a lot, and they do run you through that mock trial on it, and you've got to. There's just so much you've got to remember.
I didn't struggle with the mock trial. I guess I was just a smart aleck too, and they just stopped messing with me.
Yeah. I mean that.
I don't see that, Joey.
I was, which I've been in court. So I mean, like a lot of those guys that was up there, they hadn't even been in court yet. They hadn't worked the rotor. Heck, I'd been in court every Tuesday morning for 6 months before I went to the academy.
Yeah.
Had to leave the academy a couple times to go to court.
And really, in our area, we had a lot more drug related DUIs.
Yeah.
Anyways, we didn't. Not a lot of them were alcohol, or they were both. You remember the guy that hit the flagpole and took out the light in front of the courthouse? Yeah. He gets out and he's like, "No, man, I've not had anything." And he's got yellow powder all over his mustache and nose. It's like, "Nah, man, I ain't got
Old nose
snorting
candy.
Xanaxes."
Yeah. My favorite is when you see somebody and you're like, you've not been snorting anything? No, sir. And there's a half a pill hanging out of their
Yes.
nose. You're like, you didn't crush that no good enough. I was in a hurry. I saw you back there.
Said Skittles earlier.
That brings up a good story I've got. I was at sheriff's office. I don't even think I'd been to the academy either. I was on Hal Rogers Parkway in front of the high school, and there was a lady pulled up next to me, and she's doing that, just all over the place.
Tweaking.
Yeah, tweaking, doing all and I was parked right beside her, and I was like, gosh, she's a wreck, man. Like, I could tell she was high just from looking at her in the driver's seat before she'd even got out or anything. So the light turns green, and I sit there. I was waiting for her to go. You know how somebody, they won't go first.
No.
So finally, I just put it in reverse, and she starts going. There wasn't nobody in front of us. It's in the middle of the day. And I stop her right in front of the mobile home place, going east past the high school. I don't know what the name of that place is. But anyways, I stop her, and I walk up to the windows. Ma'am, you got your driver's license, insurance, registration. You know, I still knew. I was trying to be professional. And she starts cussing me all to pieces. Why do you stop me? Yada, yada, yada. I was like, well, ma'am. I was like, you're so high you can't hold your composure. I said something like that. And I asked her to step out, and I'm not joking. The fight was on. And she had her mom, who was like 90 years old, in the passenger seat.
Did you have to fight her too?
No, I didn't have to fight her.
She broke out that cane.
But she tried to take off on me, and I can't remember exactly how it went down. I think her mom handed me the keys, like pulled them out of the ignition. And I finally got her out of the car, and we were right in the middle of Hal Rogers on the yellow line. And I remember there was one car that went past us, and another car that, so they were splitting us, and we were duking it out we were on the ground. And I yelled for help, and I think Ashley showed up after I had her cuffed, and we were both laying over on the other side in the ditch. I was out of breath, she was out of breath. And Ashley walks up, she said, what in the world's going on, Joey? And I said, she's obviously high. And I can't remember what language I used in front of Ashley, and I said, gosh, I'm sorry I said that.
That reminds me, you've got a habit of going in the ditch. Wasn't it you and that Mexican that ended up in the ditch?
I forgot. Yes.
Was there by the post office or something?
I forgot about that. Oh, my God. Yeah, we got to tell that one while it's fresh. I don't remember. It was somebody else's. Who was training? Webb?
It wasn't me.
Maybe. I can't remember exactly who it was.
It was a Hispanic
Gary
man.
and somebody, wasn't it?
Yeah, because Gary was out with us on.
Yeah.
I worked at the sheriff's office then. And it was me and Little John. And I just showed up I seen them stop, common courtesy. If they got somebody out of the vehicle and it's just one cruiser there, you stop to make sure they're good. So I stopped, and I was just talking to this guy. I can't remember. It might have been Ben or somebody. And he was talking to the passenger. I was talking to the driver at the back of the truck bed. And I asked him, I was trying to ask the Hispanic guy. He was, all spread out with his hands on the truck bed. I was like, do you have any weapons? No.
He was plastered too.
Yeah, he was hammered drunk.
Yeah.
I said, any pistolas? Yeah, see. And he starts reaching down. Well, my natural instinct was, oh crap, he's got a gun and he just remembered it. He's going to go for the gun. So I tried to take him down, and whenever I tried to take him down, it was on an incline right in front of the post office. And we fell into that. There's cattails or whatever they're called. They're still sticking up there.
It's a huge ditch.
I mean, and
It's a culvert, really.
Catch bass in there.
Yeah.
They wouldn't taste very good if you
catfish in there to swallow
It was like tar, like oily mud. I don't know what you would call it, but I fell in that, and I look up after I get the guy cuffed. I mean, we both were covered in mud, and Ben just sitting there laughing at me. I was like,
Thanks for the help, bro.
thanks for the help, dude.
You always end up covered in some kind of
it
blood.
wasn't really a fight, but he just wouldn't comply. Like, I just don't. He was a stout, probably bricklayer or something.
Did you run a uniform?
Yeah.
Was you in Class A that time?
Yep. And
Always. You was at sheriff's office. They always did.
Yeah, I was.
While we're on the uniform destroying, the one up there at the dollar store across and I don't know why, because we were in Class B's, and I remember
You
all
had to
coming
call
out.
him out.
Yeah, they called me out.
But I think Jake or somebody thought we're wearing Class A's for a while.
It
or
wasn't
something.
Jake. He never
had to be.
He never said we were wearing Class A's unless.
Well, he was the sergeant on that shift for whatever reason. Maybe you went to court that day.
I was in a
you were
class.
at court.
Went to the gym
And I called
after.
you out.
Yeah.
And you were still in that uniform.
Yeah, everybody knew, before work I was at the gym, usually by 3 o'clock.
You were easy to call out.
Yeah, didn't
because you
have
were
to-
already out.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to, worry. I had my uniform at the gym with me usually. They called me out, and I remember for some reason, I was like, I need to get to my cruiser, so I didn't change out at the gym. I just threw all my crap back in my cruiser, and I was on my way to the PD because I wanted to keep my radio on and be listening to what was going on. And I get to the PD, and I think all the calls were caught up at that point, but there was like 3 or 4 guys that were 10-15, which means in custody with other people. And you called, and you was like, man, we're short-staffed. Somebody called, I think it was you. He's like, you care to come out early? I was like, no, I don't care. So I go to the PD, I change out real quick, and it was early, you know, I just got out of the gym, so I wasn't really trying to take it easy, but I just went up to dispatch, was kind of hanging out, trying to stay in the loop of everything that was going on, getting caught up on what everybody was doing.
I think the reason for that was the day that they had the juvenile that they thought had been kidnapped.
Yep, that was it.
And drowned and murdered and thrown in the lake.
Yeah.
That was.
we was busy.
Ended up being she just ran away and was hiding at her boyfriend's house,
But we were all on high alert
Yeah.
looking, and we just needed more help.
It looked really bad from the beginning.
So, you know, obviously I'm at dispatch, and they get a call from the dollar store there on North Main Street. You got a shoplifter. 9 times out of 10, you go to a shoplifter, they're either gone or it's just a citation. You let go. Most time from the dollar store, they just wanted their stuff back. They didn't even want them charged. So I show up, and I think it's the manager or one of the workers. She's right here. She's about to come out. So I get out of my car. I flag her over there. She's compliant. She comes over there. I was like, ma'am, you know, this is why I'm here. You are accused of shoplifting. Yada, yada, yada. She said, I ain't stole nothing. I'm like, well, set your purse on the hood of my car. I said, we'll sit down and talk about it. I was trying to be chill with her. So she sets her purse on the hood of my car, and she darts, or takes off running. And at the time, they were doing construction on Main Street in front of the dollar store across the street.
Yeah, they tore down a building, and they were making it a parking lot.
And it was nothing but mud. I mean, just swampy mud, whatever you want to say. So I get to chasing her. She throws her meth pipe out of her bra as we're running across Main Street. You can hear it cracking. I'm like, well, she's probably got drugs on her. As I'm running, I told myself, I was like, I don't want to tackle her in the middle of the road. So I was like, I'll catch her when she hits this muddy field. I didn't think it was that muddy. It'd been raining like all morning or something. So I get her in that muddy field, whatever you want to call it, and tackle her. And we get to rolling around. And I mean, I think that was worse than across from the post office when it comes to mud. Just, I had it inside my vest. My radio didn't work. My holster was jacked up.
You did about $1,000 worth of damage to your equipment.
I can't remember the exact quote that we quoted out, but it was definitely felony criminal mischief or close.
It's probably like $3,000 at the restitution that he had to.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Run fast, run gun.
But the whole moral of the story behind all that is they called me out to be there to take calls. I take one call and I'm out of service for 3 hours because my uniform's destroyed. I couldn't even. Did we have to go to the hospital after that? I don't
Probably.
think we did.
Who knows?
There's so many that. I don't think we went to the hospital after that one, but
That was the nature of our life.
it was.
Time.
Yeah, for sure.
We should have probably just set up a station 2 at the hospital as much as we were there.
We just need to hire a nurse. I mean, really.
We really
You
did.
could, yeah.
We
Or somebody. You know,
had a lot of craziness.
if
So-
you,
Was you with us, back to that culvert, was you with us during COVID?
oh yeah, I was training under T-Dot.
Which time?
When we got bored and decided we was going to go caving under
Oh,
192?
No,
No.
he wasn't with us.
I wouldn't. No, I wasn't there, but I
It's a
have.
wonder we're not all still down there.
I have seen said culvert and
We
the
went,
bath.
That place is
very
deep.
so
yeah.
we went in back behind, we explored it one night because there was nothing else going on. It was a stupid move on our part now that you look back at it because it took us forever to get back
Was y'all
out.
looking for homeless? Or
Yeah.
just-
Well, that was, kind of.
We had heard they were using the tunnels.
So we just
we
wanted to
wanted to
see
figure
how,
it out.
like, what these tunnels they were talking about. So we got in and behind the post office back there and walked it all the way. We were under, like, the old Kmart parking lot. Like, that's where we were.
Really?
Yeah.
We were a good 100 yards back in there.
Yeah, like, at one point we knew that we were over 192. We could hear traffic coming over top of us. And
Don't mind that noise. Joey's doing work.
Yeah.
We're good.
No,
I'll tell you.
I was. It just brought up another memory.
Yeah, Joey's writing down.
But yeah, I
typing
couldn't
stuff.
remember if he was with us or not, but I started thinking about that when you just talked about the
No,
COVID.
I wasn't there, but there was somebody I chased down there, and they tried to hit the tunnel. I can't remember.
And there's
So
a
many.
huge, like you have to really navigate to get in there because it's a pond basically
Yeah.
below it.
I think if people really knew, I know there's a lot of talk about helping the homeless right now. If they knew how elaborate some of these camps were in town behind people's yards, they would freak out right now.
Well, that bathing station that they had right behind the post office, it was probably the cleanest water in town. I mean, they would just leave shampoo and soap and stuff
Yes.
where they would bath. I mean, even in the wintertime, I'm like, gosh almighty.
Yeah, they are the places like up by the interstate. Have I told the story about when Pence was in town and the homeless guy popped out from underneath
Was this during the detail?
during the detail?
No, I've not heard that.
So Vice President Pence flew in. Was you on those details?
I was, but I wasn't in
I
that
kind of
area.
was, but I was on light duty then. so-
Okay. So he flew in twice, like in a couple of, but this was the second one. And I think we must have been having a governor's election and they were in campaigning for him. And he flies in, and my detail was to stop traffic on 192 right at the interstate. And the interstate was shut down. The detail, I guess they were heading down towards Corbin,
Mm-hmm.
and then they were going to turn around, head like back towards Lexington or something like that.
Yeah.
And so my detail was right there at the exit 38. I was stopping everything on 192 coming into town. And I'd tell people, I'd be like, hey, the convoys, they're coming through here. If y'all want to turn around, you can. If not, he's going to turn right here. It'd be cool if y'all want pictures, whatever, just stand right here. It's pretty awesome, right? I was like, yeah, they're going to go by. Well, it gets quiet. Here, you could see them coming. They were hammered down on 192. And all of a sudden, they get up to about the bridge, and one of them homeless guys, the state police was supposed to have checked under the bridges and cleared everything, pops out. Walks up. Why is it? Where's that? What's going on? I mean, he obviously thought that the rapture had happened and we all got caught up, except for me and him, I guess.
I'm trying to sleep down here. We gonna make all this racket.
You're doing it in my yard.
It's too quiet. I can't sleep. So he pops out, and I draw down because I didn't know who he was. I was like, oh my gosh, he's on the wrong side of the road. He pops out from underneath the bridge there and comes out like to the guardrail. And I've gun drawn at this point. And Scotty Pennington was with state police was leading the convoy there, heading down. What do they call that? Their envoy or whatever they call that. With the limousines and stuff and
Their
all
entourage.
Their entourage was heading south. And he stops, and everybody stops. And I'm at gunpoint because they really didn't want to go crossfire me.
Yeah.
So I put it back in my holster. I said, "You stand right there." And so apparently, Scotty's on the radio and they're talking to the command post, and they're all freaking out. And I just put my gun back in my pocket and pop a salute at the vice president. I'm walking. And they had on. I was like, "I'm gonna kill this guy."
Nothing to see here, boys.
Don't worry about it. Go, 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 go. Oh, London.
I wonder what he was saying. Could you
He's
imagine?
like, "What's that idiot doing?"
Yeah,
I'm
he
sure.
was saying, don't worry about it. He was a Marine.
Yeah.
Throw him a box of crayons. He'll be all right.
He's hungry.
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I mean, it was just like, what are you doing? And then I'm like, what am I doing? I'm pointing a gun towards the convoy. Oh, ridiculousness. Well, what do you do? It's fun times.
There were some fun times, for sure.
You came up to the PD. I said on your hiring. Was you on that board too when he got hired? Jake?
No, I was only on one hiring board, and I
Thank
wasn't allowed
God.
to do it after that. I got in trouble for laughing during it, so.
So
Whose was it?
I don't remember the guy. We didn't end up hiring him, but
Oh, I
remember-
remember. I remember
I
who
was
it was
cracking.
then.
I was
Yeah.
cracking jokes.
It
and
was
then
hard
for
I looked
me.
up, and Derek was
Not happy.
mean mugging me. I was like, "Well, this is the last time I'll be doing
yeah.
this."
Yeah.
My interview was rough, just not in a bad way, just because I knew everybody and I was trying to be professional, but I knew how everybody acted, you know.
Yeah, you had council
That
members.
makes it that you would think that would make it easier, but it makes it, that much harder.
Yeah.
Because
Just-
you're like, all these people know that I'm lying right now.
Why do you
Well,
want,
I am.
Why do you think you'll be a good fit here for the PD? Because that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, you all know. I think I use you. Well, you all know me. You know,
Yeah.
I use that 100 times.
So he gets hired, and right away, I guess I had you.
Yeah.
Pretty quick, and we stayed. Just crazy stuff happened.
It was COVID.
It was COVID, and we didn't have a lot going on.
But when we did have something going on,
Oh man,
I
we
mean, it's,
It was stupid.
right off the bat, we was looking at maybe investigating a murder.
yeah,
We had our tasers issued back to us.
yeah. That's when the Patrick story. you
Yeah.
heard.
Did Patrick tell that one? Didn't he?
Yeah, he
Some
did.
of it.
Yeah,
But-
that was a fun time because
Special K.
he had been policing. He'd been policing longer than me, but I'd probably tased. I don't know how many people at that point from the sheriff's office, and we were funneling down that hallway. And I don't know if he told it. There, you can still listen on the video. I was like, Patrick, tase him,
Yeah.
because I wanted. I had lethal and he had less lethal because he had never tased anybody, and that was. I think we joked about it before. It was like, these are going to get used today.
Yeah.
We were just joking, and I'll be danged if we didn't
You got
get it.
one.
Yeah, I mean,
Right off the bat. I mean, we just finished training.
yeah, it's like 2 hours later.
Yeah. It
We
was like
just-
our next call, basically.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
It was wild. But me and Joey ended up sitting at the hospital for like 4 hours.
That's horrible. That's
it's
the most
especially
miserable
it's really
thing.
hard for me to even sit still in one place. You're lucky I'm sitting still here.
Because we had,
Joey's the only crackhead that I've ever seen that doesn't use crack. He's just,
That's why I used to tell him he's the most interesting creature I've ever seen.
Yeah.
yeah. That's why he was so good at hunting dope, is because he could.
I couldn't sit still.
He had their brain.
Oh my gosh.
He's got meth brain.
I mean, whatever you want to call it, it worked.
It did work.
I mean, I feel like I could. I've got pretty decent at interviewing folks for a bit, and then it's like,
we had good times.
Oh,
Found
yeah.
a lot of dope. Let's hear some more stories. I know you got them. You just got a whole
I've got a list.
computer full of stuff.
I know the last time you was here, a good one that you told was the rock fight. So
Oh,
we've got to hear the rock
Well, I
fight.
have to rewind back to whenever I worked at the sheriff's office because
Okay.
it happened then. I can't remember if I'd been to the academy or I hadn't. I was still new, either way. And we get a call of like a refusal to leave or somebody intoxicated in somebody's yard or whatever. And I pull up and I'm like, man, where's this person at? Most of the time you go to a complaint like that, you can't find them.
Right.
I mean, they're long gone by the time you get there, especially at the sheriff's office, because sometimes you come from way out. I don't know where I came from, but I got there fairly quick. And I was looking for this, it's a female, I was looking for her. Finally, I spot her. She's up in a tree. I'm like, this is odd. I don't even know if this is the right person. Then I watched her for a minute. Actually, whenever I pulled in the driveway, like I was too far committed at that point because it was kind of a longer driveway, and I was like, I don't know where this person's at. And I seen her, and I was like, uh-oh, I'm close to her. It's like probably 15 yards, 20 yards away. So I get out of my car, and as soon as I got out, I heard a ping. I was like, well, I don't know what that was. It sounded weird.
Acorns falling.
Yeah, I was like,
You got to be careful with them acorns. You might
It was
unload
just-
the magazine on
Damn
them.
squirrels.
yeah. I was like, that sounded weird. I don't know what that was. And I started trying to call her out, and I heard ping, ping. I was like, what in the world? Then I noticed she was throwing something at me, and then she threw a bigger rock, and I don't know if it busted my windshield or cracked it or chipped it or something. I remember I did have to get my windshield replaced a couple weeks after that. And then it turned into she wasn't listening, To anything I was saying.
Let me ask you this: so she knew you was probably coming, and what? So she packed a pocket full of gravels up with her.
Yeah, they were rocks, and it wasn't the normal, little tiny gravels. I mean, they were. I don't know the grade of rocks, but they were. Some of them were bigger than others.
It wasn't dense grade, huh?
No. Which I mean, still, it was. I was like, "What the heck?"
She had a
God?
quarry with her.
Yeah, I mean, she had. I can't remember if it's coveralls or big old pockets, big jacket. It was cold outside. I remember that. But I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to get closer to her because, I didn't know how big a rock she had. So I just started, I was like, well, here you go. I'm gonna pick some rocks up, throw them back at her. So I started.
Trying to snipe her out of the tree with a rock.
I did. I mean, there's a couple I think I made contact because I heard, ow, and she started cussing me or whatever. Finally, we kept rock fighting and dispatch. They done a status check every 5 minutes.
How long did this rock fight occur?
Well, I've been on scene or in the area for 5 minutes, and I found her probably within a minute or two.
So
I'd say you got probably three good minutes of us just
Chucking rocks back.
chucking rock. Yeah,
oh my gosh!
and it got to the point where I was like,
I'm glad you didn't mention that in the interview.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, it was.
Do we get issued stones?
It got to the point where I was looking around.
It is a sling and a.
I would like duck in behind my cruiser and try to find a decent rock to throw at her. You don't want to find one that's real little that the wind's gonna mess with.
You
You
gotta
don't
get
want
the
to find
right
one.
one.
Yeah, you got to find the right one. But finally, I was just like, well, this ain't doing nothing. So I can't remember if she slipped or she got down a little bit lower. Dispatch status checked me. I was like, you're 10-4? And I was like, yeah, I'm 10-4, just having a rock fight. And they said, 10-9? I said, yeah, we're having a rock fight here. I'm 10-4. And I think it was Bunch. He's like, 34, did you say you were having a rock fight? I was like, 10-4. He said, unit you copy?
Yeah.
I guess and I tried my best most of the time to keep my composure on the radio. That was fun. It wasn't really intense until she got a little bit lower to the ground, and I was like, well, there's only one way to end this. I'm gonna pop her with my taser. So she threw a rock, missed me, and I ran up, popped her with my taser. Well, she fell out of the tree. It wasn't that high up, I don't remember, 3 or 4 foot.
Still going to end up in a hospital trip, no matter what.
It was, yeah, it did.
Just a CYA, if nothing else.
When she fell out of the tree, she done something to her ankle. And let me tell you, I'd seen a lot of high people in my time. She was probably up there. I showed you the video of her earlier. She just.
Oh, was that her screaming?
Yeah. I mean, she was wild. So I took her to the hospital. They're like, there ain't nothing wrong with her. She may have bruised her ankle. I took her to the jail, but the whole time to the jail, she's just screaming. I mean, bloody murder, all the way to the jail. But that was one of my adventures where, you never really know what you're going to get when you get called out, stuff like that, especially at the sheriff's office. I don't think anybody even came to me. They just asked, what happened out there,
She was chucking rocks, man.
Yeah, I didn't know what else to do. They don't teach you that stuff. I can't remember if I've been to the academy or not, but they ain't going to teach that in the academy either. What do you do if somebody has a rock throwing at you?
You throw them back.
Yeah, you throw them back. I mean, that's,
Duh.
Load up.
yeah, I mean, that's. I think she became a regular there for a while in that area of us dealing with it.
We had a lot of regulars.
Yeah, I can't remember her name.
That's hilarious.
That was one of my many of like, what the hell do I do here?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
I mean, it was I guess you could say, if I went to complaint, I would always hope for the best, but it seemed like it never went as planned. There was something always crazy.
Hardly ever.
I mean,
No.
I don't know.
It's a lot of it is the dissemination of information that you get from a caller to dispatch, and then them trying to interpret it and get it out to you as accurately as possible. And it never. Sometimes it's dead on the money, and sometimes it's it's not
Well, I
what
mean,
it seems.
look at
but-
this. How many times you went to somebody like walking around in the yard, refusal to leave or something? I can't remember what the actual details of it was, and you show up and they're like, "I'm just walking through the yard," or you don't even find them.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably could have easily just drove through there and not seen her. But
Yeah.
that just wasn't the type of cop I was. If somebody called, I actually try to at least
Help.
help and do the right thing. We worked with a couple of guys that I had 98, didn't find her, whatever.
They didn't look up.
No, definitely not. Oh,
You had another incident where it didn't turn out what it seemed, didn't you?
which one?
With that welfare check, the female.
Oh yeah, this is another sheriff's office incident, but this residence was like you could see the city limits, and it was 6 o'clock in the morning. I called 10-8. Usually, if you call 10-8 and they say break, they've had a call holding for a while.
Yeah.
The night shift guys. I mean, nothing against them. They usually 1 or 2 of them out at night.
Yeah.
I mean,
they
they
ready
just-
to go home.
Just
They
couldn't keep
did
up
it
with the
long.
call volume.
Yeah, they was ready to go home. So I called 10-8 and they're like, break. And I said, go ahead. That's welfare check out at a residence just outside the city limits. It's like it's been holding for, I can't remember how long. Not very long, an hour or 2. So I show up. There's some lights on in the house. And I walk up to the door and I see this lady walking around the living room and I hear bang, bang, bang. It sounded like, at first I thought it was outside, but then the more I listened, it was in the basement. And I was like, step out here, I'm just here to check on you. She's like, I can't. I'm like, what do you mean you can't? And I was like, uh-oh. She's like, I can't. I was like, well, open your door, honey. She's like, I can't. I'm like, what do you mean you can't? The guy had padlocked the door from inside and had the keys. So she couldn't get out. The back door was the same way. According to her, I never went to the back door to check, but later on I found out it was padlocked. She couldn't get out of the house. So I was like, well, I go to dispatch. I was like, London, I don't know what I got going on here, but this lady said she's can't exit the house and there's somebody downstairs beating on something. I don't know what it is, and that's the exact terminology I used. I was pretty straightforward on the radio. And they're like, all right, we'll try to get you some units en route. My day shift, I was on the day shift at that time. I think they tried to yell at the sergeant. I can't remember if he was on his way, but from Corbin, or something happened. It was just me. So I knew they had people on the way, and I kicked the door open because I couldn't open it. At first, I tried just shoulder checking it. It wouldn't work. Well, when I kicked the door open, it split in half. And I guess right above where the padlock was. And I went to push it open, I busted my head wide open somewhere right up here. There was blood coming down my forehead. And I got her out, and I said, go get my car. Well, she runs and gets in my car. All right, she gets in the driver's seat, and I was like, oh, my gosh. I'm about to get my car stolen. I got something downstairs beating on something. So I started trying to call him out. I was like, I'm not about to go in this house. And he comes up the stairs. I mean, I can't remember what he's saying, cussing, raging. And he had some type of rock music playing downstairs, which I couldn't hear it outside, but after the door was open, it was like crazy music. He comes running at me, swinging this big old pole, and at that time the door was broke open, like you couldn't close it or nothing. And I was standing on the front porch at this time, and I went to back up. I was trying to pull my taser out, and I fell off the porch, and I was falling off the porch. I think I hit the ground first. I tased him, and he dropped it. But that's one of them situations where it could have ended real bad for one of the two of us.
Absolutely.
Because in the midst of it, you don't really know what's going on. You just roll with the motions. But looking back at it, I'm like, God Almighty, if that door wouldn't have been like halfway broken, where he was struggling to get out of it, he could have destroyed me. Because it's a long metal pole with some, I don't know, a makeshift, I wouldn't say hatchet, but a homemade hatchet, I guess.
Was it a breaching device? A battle axe,
May-
if you will?
It could be. It's something like that. It was something with a sharp end on it.
Yeah.
But I, like, looking back at it now, I was like, man, that could have been. And I mean, I tased him, got him detained, and all that. He had to go to the hospital. I think he went to the hospital for some psych issues.
Yeah, obviously.
And then we ended up taking him to jail, and he didn't remember any of it, allegedly.
Wow.
After he sobered up, he was gone. But that.
I wonder if she would have relayed that if I've been kidnapped here. When she called.
I don't know that she called. I can't remember all the little fine details, but I think somebody else had called to check on her. They hadn't heard from her in a couple of days or something like that.
Wow. Scary.
Yeah, I mean, I was by myself. The city showed up, after the mess was over, which nothing against them. I mean, it's just,
Right on time.
yeah, they showed up. And I think the lady, she'd been beaten pretty bad. It was pretty, and she's an older woman. It was the son, and that was the mother, I believe, or something like that.
Jeez, okay.
We had quite a few calls, us working together, that could have been that were a lot more dangerous than we
Yeah.
realized at the time.
Speaking that, you tell it sounds better when you tell the story. The West 80,
The scabies
yeah, the
guy.
scabies guy, yeah.
So this was, we were in our prime of hunting dope at this time, and Joey had a guy pulled over, and we tried to stay close to each other that way, because unless you're Joey, you don't search a vehicle by yourself.
Wow. Dangerous.
It's definitely an officer safety issue.
It for sure
He
is.
didn't
And I
listen
know-
very well either.
I tried,
He tried it, yeah.
but when other guys are busy doing their own thing or other stuff, sometimes you just it's not smart. I don't recommend that anybody still policing.
Yeah. So we would holler at each other to two up, and if somebody called and said, "Hey, two with me," you knew that he was getting ready to search a vehicle for the most part. And twoing up is just meeting up. That's what we would. Anytime you see a set of cruisers in a parking lot and they're window to window, they're twoed up. So Joey hollers. He says, "Hey, I've got one." He calls out on his traffic stop and he says, "Somebody two with me." He gets this, and this guy's squirrely.
He did so. I don't know if you call it spidey senses or
Yeah, you.
I don't know what you call it, but the situation.
Women's intuition.
Yes, that's what we call it.
Yes, it did not seem right. There was something that seemed really off about it, and I dealt with probably hundreds of people at that time. The guy I didn't feel good about it.
He was an odd dude. And he was real antsy and real. He's definitely hiding something. There was some deception there. You could tell, and so I'm providing cover, and Joey's doing his thing, and Joey done the original, the initial pat down when he pulled him out of the vehicle, and if with a pat down, if you don't feel anything that's articulably a crime, then you don't go into pockets and you don't do anything like that. You just go on. This guy kept trying to First of all, he told us that he had scabies. So right there, there's red flag one. He don't want us touching him. So he tells us that he's got scabies, and he's right. I don't want to touch you either if you've got scabies.
No, most definitely.
So we were kind of, gloved up, keeping our distance. And then he just kept. You have those people that will not keep their hands out of their pockets, and that's the no-no.
Usually that's
If
the number one tell.
If you can't see their hands, the hands is what's going to kill you. So he keeps putting his hands in his pockets. So finally, we just were all right. We're just going to cuff him up, and he's too antsy.
Yeah, I think I'd found marijuana or something. We found a reason to actually search him.
Yeah, we could have went 15 with him at that time, and so we just go ahead and cuff him up, and then we start pulling stuff out of his pockets. Well, he had a wad in his pocket, but it just felt like paper towels or something.
Or a sock.
Or a sock or something. It
didn't
ended up being a little revolver that he had wadded up in a sock, and we had to. So yeah, he kept reaching for that little
that
sock the
could
whole
have
time.
ended-
So yeah,
I mean,
if somebody hadn't been paying attention, he could have got to it. So it's
the way the dude acted, I think most definitely if I wouldn't called for somebody, he probably would have tried something.
yeah. If it was just you,
Yeah.
if there wasn't two of us there, yeah, he'd have tried just you because everybody tried you anyways.
Yeah, I mean that's just
It's true.
it was life for me. I don't know.
Crazy.
I'd show up to something think it's gonna be.
We have a Greyhound bus stop here in London. I don't know if you all were on that one. I know Patrick was there. It was me and him and can't remember. Maybe
Was this the
flare gun?
The flare gun that had the
He'd rigged
Turned
up
it-
to
yeah.
make it like a shotgun, like a one shot deal, and that was wild.
Oh yeah, I guarantee he's a convicted felon too.
I'd say.
Yeah.
And he was trying to, get south or north, wherever they were going. We just have a stop here. We have more crazy stuff come off them buses.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I mean, it was all every night. It seemed like we were going out there dealing with something. Somebody get dropped off and they didn't have no more money, or
Well, I mean, it got to the point where we pulled the schedule and was doing interdiction with it. We
yeah,
were there for a little while.
I remember. I mean, it's pretty easy. You get on the Greyhound, you can see where their next stop was. It was hard to decipher. I mean, I think
Yeah,
we made it wasn't a big list.
it was hard to get grounds to search.
Yeah.
I mean, that was more.
Usually, I'd look for people, getting off the bus.
To stay.
Yeah.
Hopping in somebody's vehicle and try to find the reason to stop the vehicle.
Hmm. You'd find a lot of pills that way.
Yeah.
But it was weird, having homemade flare gun shotguns. He'd put a shell in and made the primer.
Fire pit, and yeah.
Yeah, just a different. I was like, holy cow, this guy was.
And that could have
He knew
ended
what he's
up
doing.
badly.
Yeah.
In the shooting it down the
Oh,
aisle of a
oh
bus,
crazy.
scatter everywhere.
Scary stuff off them.
We
You want to talk about the dinner, and then I head over to IGA.
so we talked about
Oh,
that,
did you
with-
already?
but you can give your perspective
Yeah,
of it.
give your version of it.
So Jake had talked about it in
When
his
did you all?
interview.
I didn't get to listen to it yet.
We-
we were just eating dinner. And
Yeah, we were eating dinner, and then you get a call out of the complaint comes out at IGA. Of a guy
I think
who's-
that might have been our first night with Joey.
it was.
It was the very
Yeah.
first night.
Yep. So obviously, me being me, I ate as quick as possible. And if the call came out, I got it, guys, because I knew they were going to cover me if I was searching a car or whatever later on if the alarm came out or something.
And Joey was like, he's like, let's go, hurry up,
Yeah.
meet, let's go. He was
So I
chomping at the bit, yeah.
I left out there a little bit before the other guys did. I can't remember, was it a guy passed out? On the
Yeah,
wheel or
it was a
something?
guy passed out.
I was like, I'll go take care of this. He'll probably be gone by the time I get there. That's our mentality. I mean, that's just.
That's usually how it is.
Yeah.
You get that type of complaint and they're gone, or they were, But go ahead.
So I leave out there. I get over there probably a couple minutes. Pull in. And I was like, well, holy crap, it's still here. Which, I wasn't quite used to just then because I'd only been at the PD a couple of months at that point. And I pull in behind them. I turn my lights on. And I can't remember if I had my window down or I just stepped out, but I heard the engine revving. I was like, do I approach it? I was still kind of, what do I do in this situation? I'll figure it out. That's the way I always done it. So he's revving the engine, and all of a sudden, it starts coming back. I seen the reverse lights, and he floored it and ran up over the hood of my car, and I was still in the door jam or whatever you would call it. And then he backed over my car, and for some reason, I don't know. I mean, I don't know why he done this. He went to get out the passenger door, and instead of running, he came towards me. So I have to go all the way back around my car, and then I can't remember I don't think he fought. We just got him on the ground and cuffed him. But just little situations like that would happen all the time. Just like.
He tried to tell you he wasn't driving.
Yeah, he tried to say that's what it was. Yeah, he's like, I ain't driving this. Where'd they go? And I seen him get out of the passenger door. There was nobody else got out. I mean, it was an old Jeep, and I think the door even like squeaked real loud. And it was like, dude, you ain't fooling me. But that's just, I mean, that was an every night occurrence. Something crazy like that happened. I couldn't tell you how many times I'd had my bumper crushed or wrecked.
Those push guards that we put on there.
They're good, but they're not.
Oh my gosh, little back, like they would cause more damage a lot of times.
They
on
would.
on little small wrecks. Like it was there in COVID, and we was down at the building, probably not playing cornhole or listening
No,
to
that
podcasts.
would never happen.
But we were going to. It was a rain. It was real like a flood over on Middle Ground Way. So we was all heading over there, and for some reason, I think it was Hopkins pulled out and went another way, or his car was parked over there in a different spot, so he was just going to go up hit Main Street, and he got behind the car and the guy just backed up, or had a clutch, I don't know, just, and I mean did about probably $3,000 worth
Yeah.
of damage because of the.
It busted the radiator.
Yeah,
and all
because
those
it
clips.
pushed the push guard into all that stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, these things are awesome.
Yeah.
Tearing up your car.
Yeah, they were.
Look, if they wasn't there, it probably would have cracked the plastic. But
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
it'd be
know it
like, oh
wouldn't.
no, the front bumper's a little scuffed, but no, it's that thing and just caves in your front of your car.
When
It was
Andrew KO'd me in the heading to a call on South 25, it barely cracked my bumper, but it folded his hood. It just
Yep.
awful. Yeah.
folded his hood because that thing, it came back and pushed it all the way up. It was awful.
They look cool though.
Oh yeah,
They do
They
look
do look
cool.
cool.
I like the full wraparound ones.
Oh yeah,
They drag pretty good when you go over that intersection of South 25 and 192 too fast too.
Oh yeah, son, you hit that. You'd set sail.
sparks though.
Was it
Wheels
all?
off the ground.
Was it all of us? Where were we coming from? It might have been when that gas station there at the park entrance just opened. We were going somewhere and we hit that. I don't know how fast we were going. It was like all of us in a line and we hit that thing. And it was like, yeah, it's like 4 cruisers. I mean, we set sail and I was like, oh my God.
We've all 46'd out right here.
I'm sure it looked cool for everybody else.
Yeah, I mean,
I have no idea what call we were going to, but
it's untelling.
who knows?
That brings up. Do you remember the Cardinal Market thievery, the frog tog camos?
Was that the guy with the boots?
Yeah, and
Broke
then
in through the side.
how we caught him. Do you remember that? I've got it wrote down here.
I remember.
You'd have to
So
refresh my memory.
it was quite funny. There was I guess the easiest way to explain it, I wouldn't call it a robbery, but somebody broke into a local business, stole their money bag and a bunch of cigarettes. And we couldn't find the guy that when it happened. We looked the whole area back behind Walmart. We found the money bag and still didn't find all the cigarettes or whatever. But so that happened, and fast forward like 2 weeks later, we get a noise complaint right there in front of the fire department.
Right by the PD.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, I remember now.
And during we had video surveillance of the actual burglary, and the guy was wearing like camo frog togs, had some unique boots on. We didn't know what the guy's face looked like, but it was just a very unique individual. You could tell. We're like, if we see this guy out, we're going to spot him from a mile away.
Yeah.
So we get a noise complaint, and Jake, he shows up. How did your encounter go with him? I wasn't there just yet.
Well, he was passed out in the truck.
That's what it. Yeah.
So I just went and knocked on the window, and he opened the door, and the first thing I spotted was his boots.
Yeah.
And that's when I
Yeah.
hollered at you to come over.
Jake said, I think on the radio you said 8:32 with me. You're gonna want to see this. Just plain as day.
I think when Joey showed
The
up,
exact same
I just
outfit that
pointed
he had
down
on,
at
yeah.
his shoes.
Yeah.
And I was like, he had the same. Did he have the
Same
frog
outfit
tog?
on.
Yeah, the same,
Same
frog
outfit,
tog,
yeah.
same boots, everything. Almost like he was about to go do it again.
Mhm.
He'd probably been wearing it since.
Probably had been.
Could have been, but that was just one of them things where that's probably the only true investigation that I saw. When other than dope.
I remember an investigation
clue.
that went quite the opposite.
You're gonna have to.
Over on, so we had a guy, you just knew it was him, and he's claiming that he just got out of the shower.
Oh. Yeah, we can tell that one.
So
No
Joe,
harm, no foul.
so it was from the pursuit, right?
Yeah.
That started it. So Joey doesn't.
It wouldn't have pursued.
Joey
Let's not-
doesn't start a pursuit. We'll tell it how. Again, Joey doesn't start a pursuit because we just got a new pursuit policy, so it was like a big no-no to chase things at this time.
Yeah, I had to go to the carpet a couple times on
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
non-pursuits.
Yeah, so this was a Joey non-pursuit.
Yeah,
It
he
was
got-
He got
totally
really
a
good at
pursuit.
articulating that it
I
wasn't a
did.
pursuit.
Yeah.
So he had
I am
articulated.
not in pursuit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My lights and sirens are on, but I'm not in pursuit.
At 90 mile an hour, he's not in pursuit. But so he you can tell it from there.
So I don't remember why I was trying to stop this guy, but I can't remember the name of the streets now. Anyways,
It was a graveyard, is where it ended up.
Yeah.
Is what-
Spring
Spring
Street.
Street.
Yeah.
so I lit the dude up on Spring Street, and then he shoots up I think it's Martin Street, and then takes a left going towards the dead end of the street. And I was like, I yelled at everybody. I was like, I'm not in pursuit, but he's going to the dead end of the street.
Not in pursuit, but he's running.
Yeah. And
Oh my god!
so I think it was he in a Jeep. What was he
I
driving?
still
No,
feel
it's
like
like
I'm
a
getting ready to
Tahoe.
get called in on the office on the carpet on this
It
one.
gets
Yeah.
it gets better.
It
was
was
a Tahoe.
It was a Tahoe.
Yeah.
So he goes to the end of that street, and I was in a cruiser, like a Charger at the time. I couldn't drive through this field that he went through. I mean, it looked like the Dukes of Hazzard for a minute. I mean, there's mud, dust. I was like, I'm gonna bail out here. I'm gonna park here, bail out, and go chasing him, because he couldn't go nowhere. I mean, it was woods. I mean, he would. I think he ended up hitting a tree or whatever. But so I bail out on foot, and he probably had a 100, 200 yard head start.
Yeah,
on
he
me.
had a good head,
a
lead
real
on
good
it.
head start on me.
and was close to his house.
Yeah. He bailed out and ran to this house to where I don't remember how we figured out he lived there.
Well, it
License
was
plate.
his license
Yeah.
plate. It was registered to him, so it was.
So we do the surround the drown method on this house, and we're conversating on what we should do, because we're almost positive he ran inside this house. We're not 100% sure, but we're like, he's winning this
Were we
house.
not? Were we not 100%?
You seemed like you were 100% sure, Joey.
I was, so I can't remember.
Hindsight.
I watched him run around the front of the house or something, and then I lost him.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly. So I was like, well, he ran inside this house. So everybody's there, a whole shift's there. Did Esso show up? Maybe. I don't remember.
No, I don't
No,
think so.
it
No,
was
it was
just
just us.
But so we start calling people out of the house, and there's this guy. He comes out, and I'm like, he did have the same. Was he wearing the same color?
They
clothes?
have the same name, and they have, well, and
I can't remember.
I think he zoned in on the jeans. It's like,
Yeah,
that's
that's
the
what he
same
is.
pants he was wearing.
yeah.
Yeah, it was something was very similar.
This is where this story and that story comes together, because boots are what got that guy caught.
Yeah.
However, the boots are what got this guy for us to be like, that's not him.
Yeah, that is true. Anyways, this guy comes out of the house. He's like, "What y'all doing here?" I cuff him up immediately. I'm like, "You're caught. You're mine." And then,
I mean, Joey's like, I got him, and we're pulling the perimeter in.
yeah,
then-
everybody's like, "Who was it that found the?"
James.
So everybody's starting. I yelled on the radio, "We got him." You know, that just means everybody can come, kind of
Yeah.
let your guard down a little bit. Well, James comes walking towards the house and the next door neighbor's house.
Yeah.
He looks over and what did he see? Boots or see?
He saw the guy was hiding under the porch.
He seen a guy hiding under the porch, and I mean, in the heat of the moment, I was like, "Oh shoot!"
Yeah, because we have talked to this guy like
Awful.
a dog.
Yep.
Threw him in the back of the car. I mean, read him the riot act. Joey's 100%, and
That's him.
Yeah,
That's him.
that was him. And he's like, no, I just got out of the shower. It can't be me. It was his son that it
Yeah.
ended up being. But
It was.
but
Nothing like.
when James finds the guy, Joey goes and pulls this other guy out of the car, and he's got his shoes on, and it's super muddy that night. And he's like, yeah, this has got to be him. And he's like, I don't know what that other guy. We look down, and Joey looks down with us and says, oh, his shoes are clean.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then they start, just dusting him off. So sorry, man.
The funnier part to it is I can't remember exactly how it took place. I mean, the guy, he's cool. He was cool with us after he found out
Yeah.
why we were doing it.
Well, him and his son had the same exact name.
They had
too.
the same name. He had
And he
a,
wasn't supposed to be in his car.
No, and one of them just is a junior, and one of them,
didn't he have pills on him too?
yes.
He had pills on him, and just, I mean, it was a mess. But that's just one of them things where you don't really. I forgot about it too until just now. That was one of them situations that you're like, I know I for sure got him.
Yeah,
It's
you know
gotta
you're
be
100% right, and you're not.
You're 100% wrong.
Yeah.
That happened a couple of times, but not very often. I mean,
No.
good thing we didn't have to use no force on that guy or anything. Cause that
Yeah,
would've been
I am
really
glad
bad.
that he didn't
Yeah.
put up a fight, and
Yeah.
he was just kind of rolling with it. But so they were both kind of turds, but he was one of those that still had respect for law enforcement.
Yeah,
So it was.
When
was
we
still
explained
like,
it,
yeah.
he was complete. He was like, guys,
Yeah, I get it.
He's like,
I know my son's a piece
He's
of
more
crap.
mad at the son.
yeah, because
Yeah.
it was his vehicle, was the father's
And
vehicle.
totaled it.
Yeah,
Oh,
he did
man.
totally.
Yeah.
that brings up another story. I think you as a supervisor. I was out working FOT.
Yeah.
And what that means is, you're just out looking for. I didn't like writing speeding tickets because they cost so much.
Yeah.
I mean, I would write somebody a speeding
Seat
ticket.
belts were the.
Seat belts were my go-to, and I'd sit up on North Main Street in front of Speedway or right beside it. I mean, you could write 25 seat belts there on a good sunny day in 2 hours, 3 hours.
Yeah.
And that's what it took to get your overtime. So I was up there writing seat belts, and there was this Jeep went by, driver and passenger, no seat belt. Then after it went by me, no license plate. I was like, oh boy, we called that an 8-pounder. You've hit your
You've hit your quota right
you've hit
there.
your number
Your
of
hours.
citations.
Yeah.
2 hours right there.
Yeah.
You got
I
2
mean-
hours.
So I pull out behind them. Keep in mind, I wasn't even supposed to be out. I mean, I could be out. It was for FOT. I didn't
Right.
take any complaints or nothing like that. I pull out, and the guy, I mean, it's an old Grand Cherokee. I mean, he mats it. And no cat converter. I mean, it sounded awful. I mean, just holds it to the floor. So I'm like, this is interesting. I turn my lights on. I don't even think I hit my siren until we turn off of Main Street onto 16th Street, right by the bakery, and go down towards the new road on Mill Street. Finally, I'm like, this guy ain't stopping. So I yelled it. I think it was you.
I was working the ship.
To authorize the pursuit.
Yeah, you did end up on the carpet on this, and I'll take the hit for that. But anyways, so I told T-Dot, I was like, this is what I got. No seat belts, no tag. He's refusing to stop. Don't really know any other details. I was like, do I got permission to pursue? And I think he was like, you said no or something like
Was
that.
it negative?
Yeah, you said negative, and which didn't hurt my feelings. I knew, we have protocol, but this is when the pursuit policy first went into effect, so
Yeah.
there was a lot of gray area.
And there was probably a delay. I was probably like, because I was on a complaint at Tractor Supply. I remember it, me and somebody was out on a call. And I'm listening to this, dealing with a shoplifter or something that we had. So I'm like,
It
we
just-
were working an investigation.
It just didn't meet the protocol.
No.
Like wanting endangerment or nothing at that point. So I didn't know, and I mean the pursuit policy was new, and there was nothing in the pursuit policy that specified what to do after you terminate the pursuit. So I turned my lights off and whatever, and I'm still chasing this guy.
Unbeknownst to
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still like, well, I've turned my lights off.
If I don't have my lights on, it doesn't
Turn
count.
my siren off, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, this guy's going somewhere. I'm just gonna follow him
see where he's going.
to see where he's going. So we hit the new road. We go out to West 80 there, come out right by Flavor Rich or Borden's Dairy, whatever it's called now. He takes a right, going back towards Main Street, and then he takes that little shortcut road by
Post.
Post.
Yeah.
And he was driving, I wouldn't say within the law, but he wasn't like crazy reckless driving. Well, we get on North 25 heading north, and in front of the BP, I don't know what it's called now, spur.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a spur now, I think.
In that straight stretch, I guess he noticed that I was still back there,
Not pursuing.
not pursuing. There was a couple.
80 miles an hour.
There was a couple cars in between us at that point, and he hits the right shoulder, which is gravel, and floors it, and he loses control, and he does a complete 360 in that gravel lot. About hits like 3 or 4 cars. I think there was somebody even outside. It was right there, right past the car wash. And I yelled at you, and I'm like, "This is what I got now." He's about to kill 3 or 4 people. He's
Yeah.
almost wrecked all this, and
I was like, okay, go ahead.
you was like, "You're authorized now." So this, I don't know if anybody really knows this, and I do got respect for him when it comes to this. So we turned down that, I can't remember the name of the road, the tunnel road.
hmm
We take a right there, and I noticed coming up behind me is a Tahoe, and it's black, and I was like, "That's the sheriff. He's getting in behind me." And we go out 34, and the Jeep takes a left on this gravel road and then drives into the field. Well, I knew I couldn't go out in that field. The sheriff, I mean, son, he takes that left, hits the field, and then we actually end up back on 34. I stayed on the main road, and we chased that guy up into some logging road in East Bernstein. And finally, my cruiser got to where it wouldn't go no more. I thought I was going to have a tow truck. And the sheriff, I mean, he went and detained the guy, and he never ran. The only reason the boy ran, he was a young kid, Dakota. I'm not going to say his last name. He didn't have a driver's license. That was it. And I was like, "Dude, you were..."
He's a career turd now. He is.
But going back to that story, it like when T-Dot was chief, and even when I worked underneath the sheriff and stuff, it made it fun to see your superiors out there in the trenches with you sometimes. I mean, you didn't want them out there all the time because you think they was looking for something to discipline you on, but
Sometimes we just want to have fun again. Everybody's like,
I don't mean that towards you, Jake. You was my superior, but you knew what
he
was
was
going
working.
on.
I tell you, back to that story when I got called in the carpet. I was like, we need to specify on this
Yeah.
pursuit, and then we did, like, lights off, go the other way.
Yeah, that's
And,
what it came to.
but we had
Disengage completely.
We had to have that amended in that policy, like, and I get it from your side. I get it from the administrative side.
Oh, yeah.
And Daryl was cool.
Yeah.
Daryl was cool with it. He was like, we just, it was more.
I think it's above his head.
Yeah, because
what
this
we
was a
could do.
KLC thing that came
Yeah.
down, and we just, like, right then and there. And now, I didn't get, like, reamed out or nothing.
No.
It was just like, why? What are we doing? And I was like,
There's nothing.
that's when we set the, like, if you're terminated, that means if the pursuit is terminated, that means you go the other way.
There's a couple of
Don't push it.
policies that I would read in depth continuously, and with me being me, it was
trying to find a loophole.
Finding the gray areas.
yeah, finding the gray area, especially because I mean you all
To make us work harder.
you all know when somebody's running from you, there's nothing more that you want to do than catch that person.
No, and it's kind of a it's a catch 2020 as far as is
So-
it worth it to chase this guy but
Traffic.
but also you don't know who it is. I mean, what if it's some murderer or something that you're not, and you just let them go, and then if that happens enough that you just back down from a pursuit,
It's going to get out.
it gets out that all you have to do is run.
So there's
and
two
then
big
you're-
pursuits that happened that caused that big change. And one of them, and I'm for it, absolutely agree, was pushing somebody too hard in a fatal up in Lexington.
Mhm.
I remember that.
Wrong way driver.
Yeah.
Guess who Unit 3 was in that? My niece. She was, that car that got hit that the people died in had just passed her.
Oh wow!
And she got hit and flipped up, So I mean, I'm like, there's personal reasons you're like,
Should we be chasing them?
Should we be chasing
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
Almost lost a niece there, and if that car wouldn't have passed, she would have definitely been a victim.
that-
She was a victim, but she probably wouldn't have lived.
I know I sound like a rebel, but that was always in the back of my head. I mean, I can think of several times where I was like, there was a couple of times I actually terminated on my own before because it was just too crazy. But then you got to look at the flip side of it. I don't remember all the agencies. Remember when the state police was in pursuit of that car coming south, and at the 49 they wrecked it out or it stopped or whatever. They
Yeah.
found that
The dead
the dead body.
yeah,
and
that's
they,
crazy.
And they had no idea.
No,
I mean, so
he just murdered somebody, stuffed her in the trunk, and was heading.
Oh, yeah.
That was
A lot-
awful.
yeah, I mean, a lot of times you got people that's running. You don't really know what they're running for. Normal local folks is probably because they got a warrant
Yeah.
or whatever, but you never really know.
No,
They're
you
running
don't.
for a reason. Some of it's stupid, like no driver's license.
Yeah, something that a ticket. You're gonna get a ticket, maybe go to jail, maybe.
I mean,
But-
I told Dakota, I was like, Bub, I just wrote you a bunch of tickets. You've been going home now.
Yeah.
You're going to go sleep in jail for 6
Yeah.
months. I mean, that's just the way it was.
I remember my first. It might be my first or second car chase. It was a motorcycle on the I-75. I pulled off, got on the 41. It was northbound. Spot it, try to stop it. It hammers down, toying with me because it could have ran off and left me in this crotch rocket. I'm in a 02
Yeah, there's
Crown
no way
Vic.
you're
I wasn't going
keeping up
to
with
keep up with it. Well, Hoghead was the supervisor, and he's like, "We don't chase motorcycles. Just
It's pointless.
terminate your pursuit." Okay. Well, I'm in no man's land. I can't turn. I got past. Remember, there used to be a break at the 45-mile marker. We could turn around. Well, I'm past that, and Mikey Hamlin was up there, and he continues the pursuit. So we're heading towards the 49, and they're asking on the radio. Mike is like, you got anybody with you? Yeah, T-Dot's still back there. 824. And I was like, oh my God. So Hoghead's like, you still back there? I said, I'm just trying to get to 49. I said, I'm not. I'm running. My lights are off. I don't think so, but I was just talking. I'm getting ready to get in trouble. But I did terminate at the 49, turn around, and head back to London. That car chase went through Lexington.
Yeah.
I mean, it was every agency, Rock Castle County got involved. State Police, of course, was involved. Madison County, Berea, Richmond PD, Lexington.
It went through everywhere.
It went through everywhere, and I'm like, from my stop, I just took out some warrants on him for fleeing and evading down in
But
Laurel.
that brings up another memory, and I don't know. I remember who the supervisor was, but it seemed like every time Jake would take off work, vacation days, and he didn't take off very much at all, but when he did,
Just once a week.
no,
I'm
he
kidding.
had a bunch. But
I should have.
Yeah.
when he took off, it was always like I would. Not that
Probably
I
a
did.
good thing you didn't. In the long
Yeah,
run.
you had to. You had to make sure.
But I would always try to, take it. I wouldn't go as hard. I knew I didn't have a K9 available. So I wouldn't really. I would work, but I wouldn't push it as hard
Right.
as I normally do. I turned on a car on. Well, actually, I didn't even get turned on it. I was on Bill George Road.
No, I was working that night.
Was
Yeah.
you out that night? I thought you was off.
We talked about that one, but we can hear. Let's hear your perspective of it.
Wait, are you talking about the?
The wreck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was this car went by me, and I'm like, gosh almighty, that sounds like a good one. I thought you was off for some reason, but it just, it said, you can call it profiling, whatever, but it screamed that there was going to be a gram or two in it of meth. And what that usually leads to, if you can get them to talk, it's going to lead to something way bigger. We didn't want the little fish, but we wanted to talk to them, is the best way I know how to explain it. So they drive past me, meet oncoming. I just hit my brakes and put it in reverse and was going to turn around and go catch them. Well, as I got turned around, I'm getting on it pretty good, and I come around this curve and I'm like, uh-oh. All I seen was like smoke. And it was right at it was almost dark. And then I got to look and I'm like, oh God, they've wrecked. And I hadn't even, I didn't even know the tag number or nothing. Was running from me, obviously, because I heard him floor it as soon as I went past. They went past me and seen me hit my brakes, but they had wrapped the car around the tree, and I still don't know for what reason. They
No,
were
we
trying
never
to-
found anything.
No,
never
we didn't
found
find
anything.
nothing. We
But
knew
it
who the guy
was-
was. He was I wouldn't say a known drug dealer, but he was in the works of
Mhm.
becoming one.
It was-
Later on, we found that, but have no idea, and that could have ended up. I mean, well, it was a really bad wreck, but
Yeah, and they wrecked way before you even got turned around on them. I
yeah,
think. I mean, it was.
It was way. I mean, I hadn't even. It was just one of those things where I guess they wanted to get away bad enough. They got away all right. They were Lexington.
Yeah.
It was bad.
I got in a car chase, didn't know I was in one time.
Yeah.
Have you ever been there? Like
Yeah.
Like I really wasn't. I was on 5th Street, and somebody ran the red light down there at Mill Street. So I'm on 5th and Mill, there where the ambulance service basically is. I've got a green, or it's, and the car just blows through that red light right there. I'm like, eh. So I'm like, I've got to stop this one.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking at me.
Was that during the red light policy?
No. This is early in my career. I was still patrolman, and I just followed this car, saw it, and it was moving pretty good. Then it goes through the little stop sign, the 4-way stop there by Mill Street Park. It just goes through that. I said, well, I've got 2 now. He's obviously. He was running from me. I just didn't. I wasn't registering. I was like, there was traffic. He wasn't passing nobody, but he was trying to. He didn't whip out and pass anybody. I haven't activated my lights at all. I'm probably a couple hundred yards behind him, trying to, not really trying to catch. But I'm going to stop it when I get up there in the spot I want. So we turn there at the bakery. What is that up at? Where it cuts back up there about, is that 18th Street or somewhere right there?
Yeah,
where
going
like
towards
Pearl
north
and all that. Or,
Yeah, right there we turn at the bakery, the front side where it goes back there, and he turns out to head to Main Street, and there was a big truck. It was backing the bread truck right there, bakery, and it was backing a trailer in right there.
So the road was blocked.
He was blocked, and he got up there, and the truck wouldn't move because he was trying to wiggle in there, so he bails. And I'm like, at this point, I'm like, well, he's running from me. So I just
thought he was trying to find a good spot to stop.
I've been in a car chase for an hour without knowing, for a mile.
Yeah.
Without even
terrible
knowing.
driver.
Yeah, I was like, what's this? He bails, takes off running. He goes towards the bakery. I pop out and I just holler foot pursuit at the bakery. And I think Hump or somebody was the supervisor, and he's like, what do you got? I'm like,
I don't know.
I think I was in a car chase. I don't know. And now I'm in a foot pursuit for sure. And he runs up, goes behind the trailer. I'm like, my car door's wide open, so I start freaking out. So I get on the other side of the bakery, or the trailer, and I'm like, oh crap, my car. I see feet. And I just crawl underneath the trailer back to my car and shut it. Well, there was a passenger, a girl there with him. I was like, you stay right here. I said, who is that and where's he going? And she's like,
I don't know.
So I start chasing him towards like Advance and all that stuff right there. He's gone. By the time everybody's there, I'm like, oh yeah, I need to go get her. Well, I go back to get her. She's gone.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's get back in my car.
You lost for
I
sure.
lost. I did have when I turned the lights on when I jumped out, and we had the dash cams back then. Caught a great picture of him, and took it to the jail. It's like, do y'all know who this is? Oh yeah, that's that. So I just went and got a warrant on him. But I was like, how stupid am I? I was like, I could have. And I was like, I'm an idiot. I lost everybody.
Yeah.
But I did catch, got him later on a warrant and came up. And
Speaking of
arrested.
losing everybody, that brings up another good one. Do you remember the Finley's burglary? Whenever
Where they took the machines,
they took the machines and so
at the skate rink?
yeah,
the
so
flatbed.
they stole a flatbed.
Mhm.
So we get a call of somebody breaking in. They stole a bunch of stuff from Finley's, and I can't remember the exact details on it, but we were down there patrolling that area pretty hard. I don't know if it was that same night or if it was the next shift or what it was. So I was in that area extra patrolling, and I see these kids. They were, I call them kids. They were teenagers. And something led us to believe that it could have been teenagers that done it, because there was a group of teenagers in Lilly that was wreaking havoc on a bunch of people's stuff. They were stealing everything. And you want to talk about feeling defeated. I pull in this parking lot of Finley's, and there's probably 10 kids, teenagers, and they all start running. And I'm like, which way do I go? Which way do I? So I chase after the one that was the slowest that fell, and I can't remember. I start chasing after him, and then somebody else was pulling in. I was like, grab that guy. He's a heavyset kid, yada, yada, yada.
You're picking on the fat kid.
Yeah. So somebody detained that kid, and then I was in the woods chasing the other one. They dusted me. I didn't find a single whether one of them other than the chubby kid that face planted in the parking lot. But
You don't have to be the fastest.
I think there for a little while people were like,
You don't have to outrun the cops. You just got to outrun the fat kid.
they were like, did this really happen? And I was like, yeah, there's bicycles all over the place. I don't know. But
It's funny.
and then we seen it was just a bunch of teenagers. I don't even think they were linked, but they just all booked it. I mean, as soon as I pulled in the parking lot, I was like, "Well, here I got them," because it was dark area,
Boy,
But I felt defeated. I mean, there was like 10 of them. I lost every one of them, and I didn't like losing foot pursuits. There was several that.
you remember when we used to work details at Finley?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
They had that overtime details for us. They were pulling security. So, why that happened? There was this kid. His grandparents, mom dropped him off at the Finleys, and some reason he didn't have enough money or something. Was playing, got mad, and he stormed out of Finley's and walked up to where they had the job shop, which is all the same business and the owners and stuff. And this kid walked up there and had these grown adults barricaded in, because he was like taking a stick and rocks and like throwing it at the glass.
Gosh.
Busting up stuff. They're calling 911 trying to get him, like getting hit with a rock. He was wild. So of
Little
course I show up. I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, he whoops that, wheels around with the rock, and I'm like, I just knock it out of his hand. And he falls down, of course. I'm like, he's probably 10 or 12.
Those are the worst of
Oh,
those.
it's horrible. And I'm like,
you don't know
what do I
what to do.
So I'm like trying to get him up. He's, fighting, throwing hands, whooping me. I'm like, what are you doing?
It's like fighting Joey.
So the mom and grandpa get there, and I've got this kid down, like trying to. I was like, he's, they're threatening to sue and all this stuff, because I've got this kid like trying to hold him, keep him there, and he spits on me, and not just on me, down my throat. He caught me good, and I'm like, whoa. And at that point, I'm like, I see red.
Yeah.
And I'm not mad at him. I'm like, all right, I'm ready to fight mom, grandpa at this time, and I'm like, I'll lose it. I'm like, I can't whoop him, but I can whoop both of you all. And I was like, losing oh man, I talked bad to them. I said, he's never be back up here, and you all ain't either. Well, I was like, did you not just say, yeah, well, they kind of felt bad then. I was like, he gave me a mouthful.
And that
I've never been spit on like that. And
juveniles are weird, because you don't want to throw cuffs on them, because then there's so many strict laws, and I ain't gonna lie, I didn't know all the laws.
I
when it
hate
came to
dealing with juveniles.
I know a little more, but the age pays a lot.
Well, and
more.
is it 11? If they're 11 and under, you can't even. There's not even like CDW won't even take them.
No, they won't
So
touch them. So
you can't even charge them with anything.
I was like, oh my gosh, what have I done? I'll tell a quick story on speaking of car chases and carrying on. This is way back. Me and Sam Davidson were working, and it's day shift, and Doug Gregory was the supervisor. So you had everybody, all the command staff, and Doug was the sergeant. And they were building Randolph's over there at Shiloh's.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing construction. So this has been a while ago. It was cold out. This guy, they were the construction people, and I mean, I'm talking like 20 degrees and under, and this guy was in this car or in a van, and he was sitting there slumped over at the wheel, so they thought, man, this guy's froze to death in this van. It wasn't running. So I go over there and I start beating on the window like, you okay? Because I couldn't see on the passenger side. He's parked pretty close to the wall of Shiloh's. So I'm like, I squeeze in there and I'm like banging on the door. I'm like, oh no, so I'd already called, like, hey, get me an ambulance or something. I don't know what I got. Well, he comes to. He looks over at me. He said, what do you want? And I'm like, you okay, sir? So he starts firing up the car, and I'm in between it, and he's on ice with a flat tire. So I'm like, whoa. So I'm like, he starts spinning. I'm like, I'm dead.
Yeah.
So I get out of there, and I call him, like, he's awake, and he's trying to run off. He said, I ain't stopping for no security guard. I said, okay. I said, are you okay? Just stop the car. I'm just checking on you. I'm not stopping for you. So he'd get going a little, about 10, 15 feet, get on the ice again. His flat tire starts spinning again. I ran up there to him. Stop, sir. I'm just, what are you doing? Oh, get out of my way. I ain't stopping for no security guard. I'm like, I'm not. I'm the police. You ain't the police. I was like, okay. He said, I'll only stop for Gene Holland. I was like, let him get me Gene Holland, the sheriff up here. Right. He goes up, he gets traction again and goes up another 15 feet. I'm chasing back up there. And Doug's like, he said, what are you doing? I said, he won't stop for me. He said, you in pursuit, like car chase? I was like, on the radio, I'm like, I don't know. He's running in the car. I'm running on foot. He's like, well, call it. I said, I'm not calling this. You had to call pursuit if you were in pursuit. I'm like, I don't know what I am.
It's not really a pursuit yet.
So I chase this guy. He start spinning for like 100 yards. So I ran back, got my car, came back up, and I was just going to try to drag him out. And he rolled that window down about halfway just to cuss at me. And every time I'd going to swing my baton to bust the window out, he'd stick his face in there. I was like, you turd. I'd smack it just to get, I'm like, I'll pop it and he'll back up and then I'll take a good swap at it. Oh, man. So he got traction. I'm finally get back to my car, chase him. We go around the corner. This pursuit lasts like 20 minutes and we went from Shiloh's back around to like Faith Assembly Road where Cheddar's and stuff is, all the way back over to that little gas station that's on the same side of the road in like 20 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
It's the longest pursuit I've ever been in at the time, and we hadn't went
a mile or
no, we hadn't went about 400 feet. And finally, a constable is Brummett. Remember that? Remember him back in the day? He came up and he's wearing like a brown uniform. I said, there's Gene Holland right there. The guy gets out. He said, what you call me that for? Because at the time the Brummetts and they were
button
heads a little bit back in the day running elections. He said, don't you ever call me that. The guy came out. I said, hey, it worked. Man.
Yeah, it worked.
I was like,
that's awesome.
20-minute pursuit that seriously went maybe a quarter mile. Maybe by the time he went up and around, I was like, Lord have mercy. And I could have walked the whole time.
That brings back the interstate pursuit, the lady.
Oh, yeah.
So I was at the sheriff's office this time. We get a call. It's like 7 o'clock in the morning. I was on day shifts for whatever reason for a month or so during that stint. And I called 10-8. Nothing happened. And everybody knows, in between 6 a.m. when you come out till 9 or 10, we didn't do a whole lot. We respond to our alarms, wrecks, whatever it was. Because, most of the time it's just people going to work. You didn't want to mess with those people. Mm-hmm. All the dopers were in bed. There wasn't much going on. Well, I get a call of a non-injury wreck on the interstate. It's northbound. I don't remember what mile marker. 43, 44 mile marker. And this during this time they were doing construction, so it was just barrier walls. And the complaint was the lady is 45'd out, which is wrecked but not hurt. She's up against the inside barrier wall. So I just mosey out there. I don't think I was even. Yep, I don't remember. It may have been a 46 with injury or whatever. But I go out there and I pull up behind her, and a tow truck driver comes up. He's like, "Dude, I don't know what's wrong with this girl, but she will not get out of the car." And I was like, well, that's strange. So I walk up to her. At first, the first thing you think of, well, there's something medically going on with her. I walk up to the passenger window because her driver's door was touching the barrier wall. And I noticed both of her tires were blown out later on, but I knew I could see the front passenger tires blown out. And I motioned for her. I'm like, roll the window down. And she didn't roll the window down. She just looked at me. And then I was like, ma'am, step out of here. Crawl over the center console. And she flips me off. Give me that good old gesture. And I was like, well, that's not very nice of you. I didn't say that, but that's just what I was thinking. And as soon as she flips me off,
What he said was a whole lot different.
Yeah.
it could have been. I don't remember.
Plausible deniability.
Well, I can't believe the nerve of you.
Yeah.
That's not very Christian-like.
No, ma'am. But anyway, as soon as she flipped me off, she put that thing in drive. It was still running. It floors it. Well, she didn't make it very far. I mean, she had 2 flat tires. So I run back to my cruiser, get in it. And I think I radioed in, and I was like, London, I think I'm in pursuit. They're like, aren't you on scene of a wreck? And I said, yeah, I was. The driver decided just to drive off on me. I said, she's got 2 flat tires. And it had the interstate shut down just because there was nowhere for people to go. I think the fire trucks or somebody had the lane blocked.
Imagine that.
Yeah. So we traveled for about a quarter of a mile, and she stopped.
Safety first.
She stopped, and I was like, well, she's giving up. And at this time, I could get to the driver's door. I run up and I try to open the door. Nothing. It's locked. So I go to pull up my baton to bust it, and she floors it again. I'm like, gosh almighty, here we go. I run back to my car. I was like, London, I'm back in pursuit. She stopped for a minute. We're continuing on. Another quarter mile goes by. She stops again. And it's like she was like just giving up. So I ran up to the window. I tell her to get out of the car. One time she doesn't. I bust the window with my baton. I think I even dropped it after I busted the window. Like I busted the window, dropped my baton, was going to rip her out. And she floors it again as I was reaching in to open the door. So I chase her another quarter of a mile, half mile. She stops again. I'm like, what in the world? I was like, I got to find a way to end this. This is just annoying. It wasn't fast. Like, she'd be driving 20 miles an hour. Stop again. I ran up to her. And at that time, I opened the door, and I was reaching in to grab the back of her head. And I was going to try to straight arm bar her down. Couldn't do it. She floored it again. And then the tow truck driver, I'm not going to mention any names, but it's a little bit crazy of him, but I respect him for this. We're going 20 miles an hour. He flies by me and gets in front of her and slows down and pretty much blocks her in. I was the only unit down. I don't know if anybody's even coming to me. Maybe, who knows. So this lady rear ends him, and then I finally run up. I'm like, she ain't going nowhere. I pushed my car up to where she couldn't back up. If she did, it wasn't going to be very far. Run up to the window, and I'm giving her commands, get out of the vehicle, all this. At that point, I was pretty furious. Like, I was like, this has got to stop. This is ridiculous. She ain't going to get away from us. She definitely couldn't run very far just by looking at her. As I was reaching in to grab the keys out of the ignition, she throws it in reverse and backs up and slams into my cruiser. And then, finally, and it's on video, I think it went, did it go viral?
It was on the news.
I just know I still
Yeah, the video. So these gentlemen in the bread truck, they were pulled up beside, and they got it all on video of me trying to wrangle this
It's
lady.
hilarious.
Joey hanging
gotta
off this
find
woman's
this.
arms like an orangutan.
Oh, I've got it.
I it's kind of embarrassing on my part, but it's funny now. But I try to pull her out, and she's a big lady. Like sitting in the car, you never really know how big they are. But when she got out, she was taller than me, bigger than me, and I was like,
Joey's climbing on her like a jungle gym.
well, I forgot. I did tase her, and when I tased her, oh my gosh, she yelled out that belt. You know what I'm talking about, just screaming. And finally, I was able.
I'm sorry.
I was able to get her out of the vehicle, and I was trying to take her to the ground. Well, I couldn't. She was too big. I could not get her down. She's way bigger than me. So I just pinned her up, and you can see on this video, these bred guys, once I get her out of the car, and they yell, "You good?" And I don't think I answered. I was still dealing. I didn't even know they videoed. And they're like, "You have a good one." They just floor it off. It's just the video makes it funny.
Good deal.
Yeah, you don't
good.
see all of the content in the video they video, but it was just one of those things. You know, you go to a normal wreck and it just explodes into a catastrophe. Like nothing. It's just
That's awesome.
that's how I mean, looking back on it now, I'm like, how in the world did I not get hurt real bad? I mean, just like
Funny.
what. And there was times where I questioned, what have I done to deserve this?
We questioned that a lot too.
I mean, it was to the point that we're like, it was fun at first, but it was like, the worst part about it was the paperwork.
Oh
I mean,
yeah, that's always the worst.
I was just like, gosh almighty, I just want to go out, find some drugs, and go home. That was
Yeah.
I mean,
That's enough.
Like I said, dope head mentality. He's got meth brain.
yeah,
I just want to get out, find some drugs, go home.
Yeah, I don't want to do any paperwork.
Steal a few catalytic
Now-
converters while I'm out.
I mean,
You wrote some good paper though. You did do good case
I
work.
tried to do.
He did there at the end. He got
At the beginning, your casework.
well. He got more into that federal side, trying to make stuff
Yeah.
look good in federal court, and we were all like, "God, we're writing like 1-page cases, and he's got
4
24 pages."
pages,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's never fun when like I had a case that went, you know, that the ATF was adopting, and they're like,
That's when
Wow.
you get nervous. You're like,
yeah, you're like, sit down with them, and they're like, I've read your case report.
it's not. It's
Let's do this.
Yeah.
Let me give you a crash course on how to write a.
Yeah, let's start you off on
Like-
Hooked on Phonics.
Yeah. Well, I was never back in the day when you had to handwrite cases.
Yeah.
On those forms, I was never. Some words, my little pocket dictionary or spell checker didn't know it.
didn't catch.
Because I don't know how many times Joe Smith would have one of mine with highlighters up on the bulletin board pinned in with like what?
I tell
Like
you,
the time I wrote flagpole, something happened and I put fagpole, which was an honest mistake.
But a pretty bad one.
You can't leave out the L's.
No, those are important L's, and that.
Let's not send that through the court.
That's
Yeah.
And then the one I have which spelled like a not which way like
like sandwich.
WITH.
like a broomstick which. Those make for that was a Tim Smallwood found that one and gave me absolute grief. I was like,
That's funny.
y'all didn't hire me here for. So thank goodness it went to the Kentucky Ops came around and spell check.
Well, if any of us were smart, anyways, we would have never chose that career.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what got me writing better cases when I felt defeated in federal court.
Yeah,
After
they'll
that,
humble you.
It must, because I wrote a decent case, but I got beat probably because of my case.
Yeah,
I only had 1 page, and then after that I said, no,
The more detail, the better. If
Yeah,
it's not documented,
which-
it didn't happen. So
the ATF agent Todd, he was the one that was handling the case, and he's like, and it was great. I mean, my case was fine for state court, but he's like, hey,
For
and he
federal
taught me something as far as like bullet pointing that stuff, and
Yeah.
I was like, so I adopted that. It was, my cases became more organized with that, and my, not just put your thought patterns down there like it was pretty.
I would like
Pretty humbling though, but that was. I've been in policing like 9 or 10 years before that happened, so I was like, I
we
wonder
had
what
so
the
much
lawyers
fun.
really thought about my case.
let's get into some of the squad hijinks and stuff before we get before we wrap all this up, I know because we talked about it how we did a lot of search warrants, but we did a lot of due diligence with it. And what I mean by that is it was a lot of the times we would be working on a house that we wanted to hit. It would be a week or two before we ever actually got to hit it.
Like
but we was collecting our intel and all that.
Playing in the bushes.
Yeah, hiding in the bushes. And sometimes collecting intel didn't always go the way you wanted it to.
No, most definitely. And you want me to dive into
Go
it?
ahead. Yeah.
So we were staking out this house. It was for sure. I wouldn't say a high end dealer.
No, he was low, but he was
was-
one of those that every time we tried to hit him, he ran off on us or
We
got
never-
away somehow.
He was a menace. Yeah.
He was a menace, so he just became a target.
Yeah. And we went out there several times for complaints. Like
Mhm.
the grandma or the mom would call us.
He terrorized his grandma.
Yeah, it was just the guy needed to be in jail.
Yes.
And I still agree with that. No matter what, he needed to live in jail.
Yes.
Just from I can't disclose a lot of what happened, but he was not a good person.
No.
Especially to his grandma and mom. But anyways, we were staking out this house. We knew he pushed a little, dope here and there. Would sell. What do you call it? Peddling.
Yeah.
You could
And I
tell
think he had
whenever.
a warrant too. I think he had a warrant at this
He
time.
did.
He always did.
Yeah, we'd searched him up, and he actually had an active warrant at this time. So but he always ran. And
Yeah.
we never.
He was smart about it.
He had
Sometimes,
cameras and
yeah.
stuff set up, so he was always kind of a step ahead of us.
Didn't he
but-
have that hatch in the floor, or was that a different one?
I think he did have one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a.
Mhm.
He would.
Little escape.
Little
hatch.
escape
to get
Yeah.
into the back of the house. Yes.
Yeah, he was I wouldn't say he's the smartest, but he was nifty, a lot better than what we're used to dealing with.
Clever.
Yeah. So I'm laying in the bushes, watching him, probably 100 yards out, and it was cold. It was wintertime. I remember that. I bundled up. I had all my gloves, and I couldn't move very good. So I was like, if I get in foot pursuit of somebody right now, I ain't gonna make it. I had 60 pounds of clothes on, and I noticed, was I talking to you on the radio, or we wouldn't use our radios.
No, we were talking on the phone.
They
Yeah.
were whispering.
We were texting because I couldn't. I was close enough that I didn't want to
Being
talk.
sneaky.
Yep. That reminds me of another story that freaked me out. But anyways, I was laying in the bushes and I heard a little noise, and I was like, "What is that? Is that an animal?" And where I was laying, like it wasn't the average path that any human would take.
No, it was
That
like
would-
the
It's Joey
wood line in the
path.
back, like the back, wouldn't it
Yeah.
like the backyard wood
It was in
line?
the backyard, and I noticed, like, I seen, and after I was like, that's not an animal, that's a person. I was watching him, and he was walking right towards me. I was like, oh shoot, like, what am I gonna do? He's
My
gonna
ghillie
get.
seat's not enough.
No, it was just I just had like those black PD jackets that
Yeah.
was like they make noise,
Oh, yeah.
windbreaker.
Yeah.
So I was like,
You
this
had
guy.
all the shells on.
Yeah.
He had corduroy pants on.
The
Maybe
friction.
I might have had those winter pants on that were waterproof. I can't remember, but anyways, they were like windbreaker too. But I was laying there, and he just kept getting closer and closer. I was like, "Holy shoot, what am I going to do?" And at the time, like I didn't have my radio on because it like blinked that red and green light. And I was like, I don't want to get my cover up. So I was like, I've got to make a decision. He's about to walk up on me, and literally, I can't remember if he came around the corner and I seen him or he seen me, but we scared each other. If that makes sense. Like, he scared me, and I think I scared him. And any other time, this cat he would have been gone.
Yeah, he
But
bolted.
Was this a notorious runner anyway?
Yes.
Yeah, he had rabbit all the time.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Barberville
I
Street.
caught him. I
Yeah.
caught him.
Yeah.
But so, anyways, he walked right up, and we like he got close enough to me. I just shot my flashlight. I said, "Please get down on the ground." For once in his life, he actually listened, and I get him cuffed up. He didn't run, didn't struggle or nothing. I knew it was him for sure because there ain't nobody else in that area that acts like him or even looks like him. And I get on the radio and I was like, I can't remember what I said. Do you remember what I said?
I got him.
And everybody.
It was something all snide.
I was like, I've got him for something crazy.
Yeah.
Very arrogant.
Yeah, very. Yeah.
And everybody was like, "What do you think?" Because this was going to be a fun operation, and it sucked. we
Yeah, we
took
were
the
wanting.
fun out.
We were wanting to, kick the door and do all, all
yeah,
the
we
fun
were trying
stuff.
to build enough
And
evidence.
here Joey takes the fun all out of it.
For a search warrant. That's what we were trying to get
Yeah,
to. But it was a complete accident. How that and that reminds me of another time. Well, there's two more. Whenever I was laying in the weeds, we were watching a dope house. It was me by myself, same situation. This time it was like real late at the evening, but it wasn't dark, and I was over a bluff, and the trailer was up on the hill, and I was hiding behind the tree. And I can't remember what kind of creature it was. I can't remember if it was a snake
Was it a bandicoot?
or a big spider.
Notorious bandicoot.
But I was laying there trying to be all cool, and I had my little, I had my phone out, brightness was turned all the way down. I was taking notes of vehicles coming in and out. And something crawled across my arm. And I don't think I blew my cover, but my whole being cool and tactical went out the window because
It's hard to be stealthy when you got a snake crawling across your arm.
it was, and I still don't know what happened to. I threw my phone up and
Chupacabra got him.
I went crazy trying to get away from it, and then I just went back to the car and I was like, I think I sent you all a text. And I was like, oh, that failed. I was like, there's a creature crawled on me, and
Yeah, I'm not going back.
we ended up taking that guy down, but we went a different method, just a traffic stop.
Yeah.
let's play this one smart.
Stay on the asphalt.
Yeah, forget this wood stuff.
Yeah.
There's animals out here.
We're city guys.
Who would have thought? Did you guys know there's critters out here?
I mean, there's woods in our city.
Oh, yeah.
That brings up the next stakeout adventure. I can't remember the street name. I've lost. I don't remember any of the streets anymore. I wish I could. But anyways, we were in town and it was Logan had called, and he was like, "We've got quite a bit of intel. You care to come out?" I wasn't on your shift yet, I don't think. Or maybe I was, and Logan was on the other shift, and he come. One of the two. Something had happened, and it was me and Logan. We were laying in this guy's backyard, and it was, I mean, right at the break of dark. And we were calling out people that was walking from the house. There was a lot of foot traffic because it was in an area where there's apartments around and whatever. We were calling out people leaving. Our goal was, we were going to stop a couple of those foot traffic people, get enough to build probable cause from them leaving that residence, and then we were going to get a search warrant. And we done that. We caught 3 or 4 people. But the craziest thing, when I was laying in this guy's backyard, and we done it for 2 hours, this old man comes out. Who the heck's on my property? He wasn't saying that. He was cussing. And we were like, shh. Because we were in our uniforms, but we had jackets on, and you couldn't see all
You
of our...
stepped out.
Yeah. You couldn't really tell who we were. I think Logan ran up. He's like, "We're the police. You all carry." And that guy was like, he came and snuck out there and brought us water. He was so happy. Yeah, he didn't.
He's tired.
He's like, thank God.
Yeah. I mean, once he found out what he was doing, but he come out raging.
Well, I don't blame him because he's, used to all them dopers.
He was in that area
Yeah.
where, he didn't want the people to be there. He didn't.
Right.
The dope house across the street was killing him.
Yeah.
He said he was even talking about his property value after we kicked the door, but that was one of the things where it could have. We probably should have told him we was in his backyard, but
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
But it's hard to
It
get
worked
out.
out.
Yeah, it worked out.
yeah, it did. We ended up.
Funny.
We had another one. And there's 2 more that I'm thinking of. With us collecting all this intel, we would get a lot of intel, and sometimes Joey would come off with some intel that would just be like off the wall, and we'd be like, "That's bullcrap, Joey. You can't believe that." So
I believed
He
everybody.
got that intel from Danny Robinson.
So
Well-
yes. So
Here's what I heard.
yeah. So the intel that he had got one day, and we'd been hitting these poker machines and these dope dealers at the poker machines. I mean, we were hitting them hard. And he got some intel that he's like, listen, there's a woman that's selling out of this one poker machine, or she's bouncing around to him, and she has a calling sign when she's in business, and she sets a roller skate out on one of the pumps. And I was like, Joey, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
I do remember this one.
And so we, it's a couple of days later. We're still got that intel, and we're like, even though it sounds crazy, we're still looking for it. So I can't remember if it was Logan's stop or your stop.
It was Logan's.
It was
Yeah.
Logan's stop.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you go ahead because you're the one that almost got hit in the face with it.
I remember we had we had heard about it, and Logan called me one night. And he's like, "There's a roller skate down here off 4th Street on the gas pump." I'm like, "Well, all right,
Obviously selling.
Yeah.
it's true." Well, she leaves a little while later. Logan stops her, so I was close. So I went ahead and went out there with him. He gets this little scrawny girl out, and I'm back there just chit-chatting with her while he's searching the car. Well, I'm not really paying attention. I'm kind of looking through her purse. She gave me permission to look through it, and I thought it was a baseball. Flies right past my face and lands in the grass behind me, and I turn around, and it's probably the size of a softball.
It's like a half pound.
A bag of meth.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I was like, "What are you?" Turned to her. I was like, "What are you doing?"
That
She's
ain't
like,
mine.
I don't know.
These ain't my pants.
So I go to cuff her up. She's like, "I'm sorry." I was like, "Where'd you even get that?" She's like, "I had it down my pants. I was trying to get rid of it." That was the dumbest thing
Yeah.
I've ever seen in my life.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
She almost
And-
hit me in the face with a half pound of meth.
That is.
And searching the car, sure enough, that roller skate was in there. She took it with her.
Yeah, she had it in
Yeah.
the back window of the car.
Yeah.
It was
That was
completely true.
Yeah. Crazy.
Everybody doubted me, and that happened a lot. Speaking,
Doubting you? They shouldn't doubt you after that.
I wouldn't say they doubted me, but they were just like,
Your intel was probably just stuff that nobody ever heard of, like
Exactly.
a roller skate.
It
like
was.
Well, it was that, and then sometimes he'd sit out on the interstate, and I'd go out there and two up
Out.
with him while he's watching traffic. And there at the beginning, he'd be like, "There's dope in that car."
Yeah.
I'd be like, "Whatever, Joey."
yeah,
And he'd stop it, and half hour later, he's sending me pictures of a pound of meth. I'm like, "How in the world?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
It's
know
like, it's
that.
like it almost glowed. Like the car would go by and you'd be like,
that.
you just. I know they give tails. I worked interdiction for a couple years on the team, and you can't hide. You can't hide your. If you go by and unless you're listening to a serious, like a comedy channel, going by and all of a sudden just start laughing. You can't hide. You're so amped up that those emotions and that comes out.
Yeah.
You can't hide behind them A-posts enough. You can't. That was just
Cigarettes
different.
was always.
There was just different things, man. And I remember, the Telltale. If they had a Bible or 2 or 3 in their windshield, you're like, huh,
police stickers.
yeah, crazy stuff that you're saying. We're not trying to give away nothing because they're still going to do it
Yeah.
now.
I mean, there's a
can't-
song made of it.
Yeah, you cannot. When you're nervous and you see a cruiser or something sitting on the side of the road, you can't fight. You can't fight your emotions and your fear. It takes over. The easiest emotion to fake is laughter.
Yeah.
And you're like, huh, that's a funny joke by yourself there, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's
Yeah.
well, that brings me to back whenever I was working the interstate every night. It was you would see me at the bottom of me and James usually. And then Flash would come down there and hang out with us, and then up on the bridge would be Jake. And he would just sit there and
Giving his dog a break because it's getting ready to get ready.
I mean that's what.
Well,
Yeah.
it got to the point if Joey caught out on a stop, I'd just drive that way.
Yeah, that's what would
Yeah.
happen. And I'm not saying every one of them were good, but I'll never forget my first true interdiction stop. It wasn't a whisper. It wasn't little. It was me and James, and you were working, but I think I'd stopped like 20 cars that night, and you'd finally been like, "I'm going to get something to drink or going to the PD for a minute."
Gotta go get a Red Bull.
Yeah. It was when something, and So we get out there. I stopped this car, and right off the bat, I'm like, this is it. Like, I just felt it. I don't know what, obviously I had very little training at that point, but I kind of knew what I was doing. And me and James, we searched that car. Gosh, I don't know. I searched it, James searched it, and I'm like, it's here. I know it's here. We got to find it. And I think James was kind of doubting at that point, and I don't blame him, And I was like, I'm going to search it one more time. And I'll never forget, we were in the trunk area searching it for the last time. I was like, if we don't find nothing this round, we're just going to kick them loose and whatever. And in the back trunk it had a big old square-looking object wrapped in duct tape that was hid underneath the carpet. And I'm like, they done it up so good of a nighttime, it was hard to tell if it was factory. That's how good it looked. And then finally I pull it out, and I'm like, James, detain her. He detained the lady. And you should have seen this. We was like two kids, there was no better feeling. I was unraveling that.
Oh, yeah.
And halfway through unraveling, James was like, you think we should get some Narcan? I was like, nah, we'll be all right. I just kept going. we still didn't know. There was probably a whole roll of black duct tape wrapped around this, and we found it. And then I sent you a picture of it. I was like, got one.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I've still got it.
It was just like, from there on out, it was like addiction. Like, I wanted to find that next big look. I wanted it bigger and bigger and bigger.
We had a pretty good operation one night too that started out as a little, just showing how we worked things as a little fish.
Mary?
Yes.
Talking about Mary?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It started out one of the most fun operations that
I forgot about that.
I'll tell you a weird interdiction stop. Me and the team I was on, J Mac, Landry, and some CVE guys other than Landry, we were setting up on Parkway where they were going to build that track. You remember that up there at that turnaround? And we were sitting there, and night shift that came out from the PD was working with us. Hump Gregory was there. We were having a good time. I think we may even started road checking with them. And his car comes up. We find a package. We're like, it's it. So we send it off to the lab, not knowing what we had exactly. It came back. It was just some kind of sand. We thought it was like heroin. Inside that sand was a curse of whoever found that, like the interdiction teams. And I was like, I didn't find it.
Well, a lot of your.
They would do that stuff. They would try that.
Big
that voodoo
narcotics
stuff.
Yeah.
We started seeing stuff labeled there at the end.
Yeah. It was wild. I was like, I didn't find that.
One million.
Good job,
Who was
Greg.
it that started?
Good job, Doug.
Where did Mary start?
Me.
Was it behind the BP?
Yep.
It started with that because it was me and you on that traffic stop.
That was a lengthy investigation. Was it 2 weeks?
It was. Well, yeah. It ended up going
I remember that.
bigger and bigger and bigger, and it turned. Was that the same one that ended up with 5 pounds?
Yeah.
Yes.
And all of that came. So 6
Yeah, that
pounds.
was off her.
6 pounds of dope came out of that.
No,
one
it was
list.
more than that because it ended up leading us,
Clay County.
went us to Clay County, and they found.
Well,
I
it
don't
started.
remember.
Yeah, it started out as
It was two homeless that they were homeless or something like that
camping out in
in their
the
car,
truck stop. Yeah.
and it wasn't her that we bought. It was some users that were living at the truck stop, and they gave me information, and just like you said earlier, everybody's like, you'll never talk to those people again.
Yeah, we didn't have a whole lot. You can't trust.
You don't
can't
trust
a
them,
dope
but
head.
I trust
Every now and then you can. You can run with it, but as we know from some of our our buy bust experiences, it doesn't always
They're
work.
slippery.
What's
Yeah, they're
the
slippery.
What's the most dope you've seen? Like marijuana, meth,
We
coke.
went to a house one night. I don't remember why we were there.
I don't know. It's a
But it
lot.
was 20 pounds of marijuana.
I saw.
Then I seen, was it 30 pounds of meth?
Golly.
I've never seen it.
Where
Most
was
I've
that
seen.
at? That
Clay
had to be
County.
with high.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
So some units out in Bowling Green. They had a team out there. Those CVE guys, those KVE guys had an interdiction everywhere. Good at what they do because they could get in big trucks that we can't. We couldn't get in. And Jason, I was at a church picnic. J Mac calls me. He's like, "You want to ride to Bowling Green?" I said, "Not really." Because I wasn't quite on the team yet. I was starting like that Monday. This was on like Sunday. I'm like, oh gosh, really? I'm at a church picnic. They were doing a big hog on the spit. You know, I was like, man. He's like, no, you need to see this.
You're like, welcome to the team. Go to work.
Yeah. We drove out there. They'd already had it stopped, pulled in a warehouse somewhere, like there's a bottling company right there off of the pretty close to like Smith Grove, and there's a Pepsi plant right there. They
Near
had it over there.
Buc-ee's. There's
Yeah, near
Buc-ee's there.
Buc-ee's. And they cracked that thing open. It didn't even smell like it, but there was 1,500 pounds of marijuana on that truck.
Jeez. Just
And I was
compressed.
like, and he was like, "This is what we're looking for." Set the standard of like,
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Yeah. It's a pretty low bar.
But an ounce was a lot.
Yeah, no joke.
That's what I was used to. It was like, oh, I got a seed out of your console here. You're going to jail.
We talked about this last time I was here, which it didn't get put in. But, now with my new job, I travel all over pretty much the eastern part of the U.S. And
Selling dope.
It's went to the other way.
I sell something, but it ain't dope.
Insurance guy.
Yeah. But
Just as bad for you.
It's medicine.
yeah.
big pharma.
But so, still to this day, the only team that I've seen, and I've got mixed emotions. I understand it in a roundabout way. The only team I've seen now is the Richmond guys.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm traveling right whenever, the guys that's trained in interdiction, right when they should be out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for instance, last week I never seen one single cop.
I
drove.
I don't know what's changed. If they're working at more intel side or if it's more, but used to, if you went down to, say you drove to Florida or something, you would see a team or two in Tennessee. You'd see 3 or 4 teams in Georgia. You'd see them in Florida. I mean, there was you're like, well, I know what they're doing.
Right
Well-
at the Kentucky line, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I drive all those routes, like down 40, 65, all of the major, the highways coming in. I've never,
Nah, it's just
and
I
I
don't know
don't
what's
blame them.
changed.
It will. I think it's
you can't search like we used to.
the
federal
laws
laws changed.
The laws have changed so much, and then finding, with all the, I wouldn't say hatred, but the way that people view the police, I don't blame them. I mean,
Yeah, it's
nobody wants to go out on the interstate and risk their livelihood for some drugs.
I look back at it, and we was doing this, and we were looking for indicators of felony stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't all felony because a lot of times it'd be
Yeah.
personal. They gave the same indicators, whether it was they had a warrant or they was bootlegging or they were
Indicators of criminal
indicators
activity.
of criminal activities. That, but we were out there looking for felony stuff.
Yeah.
Wanted people.
It don't always have to be drugs.
No.
I mean, that brings up, remember that night I stopped at the car? It was on the inside barrier wall, and I was like, I think I even told you, there's something more to this, but all we had at the time was a warrant. And then 2 days later, we come back, and the guy had, stole the car, and
It just hadn't been reported yet.
it hadn't been, I mean,
Yeah.
it was
was like
so
one
much,
of
and maybe, he had,
Like a Hellcat. Them suckers,
no,
remember them?
it was some old beater car, but I think he had assaulted somebody to where he was possibly facing attempted murder charges, and he was just during his initial interaction, you could tell there was something up. Didn't find any dope.
Yeah.
Other than he had a warrant on him that was extraditable, but it was I knew there was something there. I could feel it, and didn't find out until I think
Travis Hurley stopped one day. He had a Tugger, the dog I took. We used to call Tugger Ofer. He was Ofer 1,000 finding dope. We used to give Travis a hard time, but he stopped a guy, found a little dope, and we arrested both people in it. Obviously they were trafficking together out of Detroit. heading back north, and he got them for speed. They were flying, way too fast on the.
Which is weird. Most
Yeah.
people hauling don't speed.
No. And he hollered. He said, "Hey, can you come? I don't like this. Whatever." We arrest them. No big deal. They get out of jail. FBI or AG's office, somebody. Yeah, I think it's FBI and the AG's office in Kentucky. They came. Stuart Walker calls me. He's like, "Hey, come up to the PD." I'm like, "Uh-oh. What if I turn down?" Usually I was like, "Yeah, here we go."
Yeah.
He's like, "These folks want to talk to you." I'm like, "Oh." And the woman I arrested was missing and presumed murdered by that guy that we'd picked up. Because during that stop, she had kind of indicated what they were doing to us. And he killed her. Just later, I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I don't know if they ever found her or what. It was bad though. It was one of them deals where like,
It just didn't feel right.
no,
Well,
from
that's
the get go, ended up he was a really bad person. We just didn't know how bad he was.
The interstate, man, it's
dangerous.
dangerous, but
Oh man, there's a
that's
lot
where
that
you
we-
find and we got, I'm not saying we don't have real crime in our area, but that's where you find the real,
Yeah, it's in transport.
Your big transport.
yeah. I mean, I couldn't tell you how many people that we had arrested that had, or not really even arrested, that had encounters with it, had murdered people, like had murder charges or
Yeah.
whatever. It was like, oh my gosh.
I remember, I forget who it was. We was on that team, and they were doing construction on 75, and they would do those rolling roadblocks. Somehow this car got ahead of it, and he was going about over 100 miles an hour. And one of the other officers that was on the team stopped him. It's like, obviously we got him for, the speed limit then was like 55 on I-75 for the construction. He was going, 100 plus. And he pulls him over, talks to him, "Where you heading?" Guy's just freaked out. He just points like south.
That way.
Yeah, I'm that way.
That's the first indicator.
So, he arrested him for reckless driving, and we do a interdiction. We do a search on it, and we had those fancy spyglass stuff with the cameras on
The scopes.
the scopes, and all of a sudden I see that officer. He just starts, wow, and I look down there and all I see is a Benjamin, and it was trapdoor stuff. It was wild. We couldn't figure out how to open it. It was on like wiper motors and stuff. It was on teardrop things.
So he's legit, big time.
They were big time coming out of New York and going to buy, I'm sure, or transport, because they had it vacuum sealed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing. I think it ended up being about $100,000, but it was so small and vacuum sealed that it might have looked like $5,000.
And that's real
Wow.
easy to conceal.
Yeah.
If you think about the vehicle, I mean, it's easy to hide stuff if you don't want somebody to find it. Unless you, you got your normal, back before I started working dope real heavy, I could tell you how many vehicles I just look underneath the seats, check the trunk, and let it go.
Funny story about that. Later, working that same spot, I see a car, same description. I'm like, "Ah." Well, me and Jason had went up to take that trap out of that vehicle at the Marshalls in Lexington, cutting trapdoor stuff out of that because it was going to go to auction. We took the trap out, glued it all up, put it back together. And here comes a car meeting that same description, driving. It was the same car that a dealer in London had purchased at auction. I said, "I got a funny story about this car." I said, "You're liable to find more money when you start detailing this thing, because you never know." And I said, "Just don't tell nobody." But it was wild. I mean, it was wild. Then it came back to London, and somebody local probably bought it.
That's awesome.
We've had so much fun.
Have. There's so many more stories we could tell. This is the longest podcast we've had so far.
Turned it into two.
We've been going for 2 hours.
I do want to ask you this. I know we'll switch gears a little bit, but you got out of law enforcement,
Yep.
and great officer. But what led you to make the transition? What was the thought process on it?
Obviously, like, money was one of them. I just felt like that was I wouldn't say that was the number one reason, but just, we lost Logan.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's the whole reason, not trying to get a
But
no
it
pity.
did
caused-
change. It
It
changed.
changed a lot of us.
Yeah, it
It-
changed the dynamic.
And the number one thing that I don't care to admit it now. I mean, I'm definitely in a lot better spot than I was then, but I was drinking a lot. And I just seen not just my health, but my mentality, my family, everything was just, I wouldn't say crumbling, but it was at that breaking point where, and I don't know what, I truly couldn't tell you why I was just like, oh, I'm done. But there was something that just told me, like, you need to find a different career path. Because I love my job.
Very good.
But something changed in me. I was just
Yeah.
like, I mean, I wasn't the same. I didn't enjoy coming to work like I did when I first started. And, we sit here and joke about all the crazy things that happen. I'm not saying that's what led to it, but a lot of them are funny stories that you've heard, but there's also been a lot of crazy things that, Jake's been right there with me
There's
doing.
there's
all
a
of you
lot
have,
behind the scenes
Yeah.
that
that we don't talk about.
Right.
And
Yeah, we try to keep this the funny side, but the stuff
Yeah.
the stuff that causes changes, the things when you close your eyes, the things that all of a
Not-
sudden gets triggered.
not sleeping or
Yeah.
sleeping. Like, I would catch myself either not able to sleep or just sleeping way too much.
Yeah,
The time sacrifice from your family
Yeah.
that
Getting called out,
yeah.
I know.
all the time.
I know. I got out.
6-7 days a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got out a little while before you. It wasn't probably a few months maybe.
I left in April of 23.
I left in February. No. Yeah.
So 2022 was
But-
rough. It was just a brutal year.
Mm-hmm.
Losing Travis, right?
Yeah.
Losing somebody I policed with for years and years, friend. That was brutal in itself. But then to have it, losing Logan,
It was
was just it devastated me. I was close to retirement anyway, so now I just didn't have the fight anymore.
I felt like it depleted like our whole department, and I'm not saying that in a bad way.
did.
It did
but it
because I
was-
think the question was, is it worth it anymore? Like, is
Yeah.
it?
I mean,
Because you go out and you've got that bulletproof mentality, but then that really sets things. And I mean, you're already grieving, but then that sets it into
well,
There was so much change that was happening anyway, and then his death just was just a
yeah. I mean, it was, and I'm a firm believer in everything. God has a plan for all of us. I'm not perfect. Ain't none of us perfect, but I will say that, and not trying to get like all emotional in this podcast, but I went through some therapy, and that helped me more than
Yeah.
than me picking up a bottle. And after I spent hours with a therapist. I had somebody that practiced privately, and then DOCJT. I can't remember that lady's name, but she was awesome. That done the
EMD or
the paddles.
yeah. I can't-
EMDR.
Yep, and it was
Disassociation.
that really helped me. And
Did you do that, Flash?
No,
You
I
did,
didn't.
didn't you?
it's not too late to
did,
do it. I mean,
It,
I would like to do it again.
I did. I went back. In fact, she contacted me with the other day, probably a month ago now. She probably just had, she knows, and there's things that trigger time frames, things going on that.
It's
and
weird things too. It's not like what you think.
Yeah.
What would trigger? It's just off the wall, just driving.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes
Yeah.
I'm like, I get in my head, and I
Her
just-
name is Angela Childers.
Yep, that was her name.
And
she
she's
is-
incredible.
Yes.
But she, at any time, we still can go up and see her. That's the cool thing. You don't have to. She'll see you. And it'd been about a year after my first session, and I went back up there, went to her office, and sat down, and she said, "Hold on to these things."
Yeah.
And
And at first, you
it
don't think
wasn't
it's
as
going to
bad
work.
Yeah,
the
it's-
first time.
It's weird.
It's
How it
real
works.
weird. You don't think it's going to work at first. Like I was in denial about it. I was like,
and the first time, I'll tell you this, and she came in. She said, I said, "Well, I need to go first. I need to be the leader." And Lisa say, "Hey, it's okay." I'd laid my head straight on the desk in there where we was at, and just unloaded for everything early in my career. Travis's death, Logan's death, all this stuff that was pinned up, and I was like, I can't believe I'm saying some of this stuff. But I mean, and I looked at her. She said, "Okay, I think we're good." You know, I'm like, "Okay." I said, "What do you want for lunch?" I said, we started that session at 9. I said, "I bet you're hungry. It's got to be lunchtime. It's got to be like 2 or 3 hours into this." It was 3:30. I had zero idea. That stuff, it worked. The second time I did it, it was good to get some stuff off my chest, but it wasn't like. I think the first session, I think there's multiple sessions you need to do with that, but it was more the fact the second time I just hashing out some stuff that I was still thinking about and going through.
Yeah.
Stuff that had been compartmentalized and
That I probably
Yeah.
hadn't shared, some hurt stuff that I was going through, and she's like, "Come back," and she'll call me still like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay right
yeah,
now."
she was awesome.
Yeah.
I can't.
That was the best thing that ever happened. What do they call it? The P.
I can't remember. It's
You remember what it's called?
too many.
We can go to
acronyms.
those classes. They do those very intensive stuff where you can take your family.
You're talking about the post-incident stuff?
Yeah. And probably should have went. We probably all should have went to something like that. But her coming down, and I remember we sitting in a debriefing with the chaplain, and nothing against him, but once we started getting deeper, I think he wanted to keep it at a
Arm's length away.
yeah, and no fault. He just
No, I
didn't.
mean,
He was a chaplain more, and
well, he probably never dealt with anything like that either. I mean,
No.
it's a small
No.
area; it doesn't happen.
and when I think it was Travis from the sheriff's office, like, "You need to call her."
Yeah.
And we did, and she came straight down like the next day, and scheduled to be there for like a week or something, and it's life changing, really.
Yeah,
just
it
to
is.
get some of that.
Have you listened to the Sean Ryan show?
Yeah, I listen to him all the time.
He's talking about the DMT, 5-MeO.
Yeah,
I think that would be. I mean, obviously, it's not legal in America yet, but
I think
just the research that I've read and
it's
heard.
getting closer.
Yeah,
I think that Walter Reed may be starting to
I think the VA,
the military VA stuff is really
That's good.
really looking
Yeah.
into it.
and that's. I mean, once you quit policing, it's like you got all these friends, and then we're still pretty close, tight knit group of friends, but you lose a lot of people that you thought were your
Mhm.
true friends.
Yeah.
They
You really see how small your circle gets.
And that's
Yeah.
why I thought, well, that thin blue line is a bunch of bullshit.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll be the first
Oh,
one
yeah.
to, and I'm not trying to make anybody mad,
No.
but while you're working, you're all homies, and that's
Well,
and then when
there's that line. You're all brothers until it comes time
to promote. Yeah,
or,
I mean,
or whatever, or whatever.
I've seen a lot of backstabbing that
Yeah, there's a
shouldn't
lot-
have ever happened.
And that's
And that happens from all the podcasts I listen to, all the cops from other agencies. It's all kind of the same sentiment too. It's all, it's not really a brotherhood when the ladder's there.
No.
Everybody trying to climb the ladder. So it's
I tell you, the closest brotherhood I ever felt is when we all worked together. I mean, it's just that right. I don't think that's inseparable.
Well,
Besides,
and I've joked about it a lot and said that we operated kind of on the don't ask, don't tell mentality, but I think that's why we were so close, is because we just kind of done our own thing, and
Yeah.
I mean, we'll
even-
ask for forgiveness later, and
yeah.
There's a lot of that.
we got out, done our work, and
And we knew each other. Like I could come into work and Jake, you know how he is. He knows. He could tell if I was having a rough day, if I was dealing with some stuff.
well, we knew,
I mean,
you knew each other's. We could read each other,
And I
is
could
what-
tell whenever he was
Yeah.
having a rough day.
That's why squads and breaking up a good team was always a dangerous thing to do, because me and Derek talked about that. He knew that was my beginning. That was my squad. We were all close, and it was just when they broke that up. We talked about that. It was just kind of trying to. I'm a new guy on a new
It felt like you
place, and they
completely
didn't
knew.
know me,
Yeah.
and it was
Yeah,
a
you're
different
starting
shift,
over.
different way of doing things.
And you-
You're like, I don't know.
and it throws you completely out of your work routine, like, because I know when they eventually decided to switch everybody's squads up for whatever
Yeah,
reason.
at the end of the year,
I
they'd
think-
switch them up every year.
Yeah, for what?
I
and
tried to fight it, but
we all, for the most part, we all ended up on the same squad just because of seniority and the way the bids worked. But then there at the end, it's like we got kind of mixed
gotta-
around, and it ruined.
you want to be, and I see the thought patterns like, all right, we shift bid. You want to come to day shift for whatever reason, that's fine.
Yeah,
But then they would flip flop the whole red and blue squad sometimes. And that
Yeah.
was what hurt.
That was what was
Because you could still
a
stay on
terrible
a
idea.
red. So we did was we broke it up. We had 4 squads. We worked 12-hour shifts with a red side that would say we worked Monday, Tuesday, and then off. But we were all red, and we would see each other at shift changes. We'd cut up with each other. We'd see each other, in the morning and the evening.
Yeah.
And it was, there was shifts that you never saw. You all never saw night shift on blue
No.
or whatever.
no.
And it was that's the tough part, that you're like, well, we're one PD, we should be able to police together.
You should, but
But there's dynamics, there's trust that's built in that. That's so important. Like if your supervisor, if Jake knew you enough to know Joey's having a bad day, or I can talk to him, or I know what gets him motivated. I know what can calm him down.
Yeah.
That's so important. And that was like me on day shift, and being that that lieutenant when I was doing that role of kind of being over both those squads. It was just there's a trust that you build up with each sergeant that hey they're doing this, and if there's problems they'd come tell you. But if you didn't hear from them on stuff, you're like, everything's great, and we had that relationship built in to where if there was a problem, Jake could come up and easily say, hey, here's what we got, we may need to move him, or this is what's going on, and that was fine. That's what you want. Or hey, you might want to talk to him about this, or hey, this is what's going on. So
well, that's leading into why your original question, why I quit. And it was nobody's fault other than my own, and I'm not trying to blame it on nobody, but whenever I was working on Jake's shift, he could kind of keep me honed in. He knew what was going on. He knew when I walked in what kind of mood I was in. And then after I transitioned from his shift, that's when I started declining as far as, my mental state. Just because I had good leaders, I'm not saying that, but they didn't know me. Like Jake knew me, Flash knew me.
You had
Tito-
good leaders, but you didn't have partners. Like as far
No,
as
it was just like, I don't know how to explain it other than you in the line of policing, you need somebody that's going to keep you in check.
it was one less thing, and it was one less thing on a call that you had to worry about.
Yeah.
Because you don't know how this guy's going to operate. You don't know how this guy's going to operate. We knew how each other operated. So it's like that was never in my mindset when we were out on something dangerous. It was like I know that, you're back there, Jake's back there, somebody's back there that's got my back. If I don't see something, they've got it.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about
And
So-
then it all that translates into how you work.
Mhm.
You know, if you ain't honed in and you don't have that brother keeping a check on you, then what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like you might be, you might think you're doing the right thing, and I'll be the first one to admit. I mean, I thought I was doing the right thing several times, and I wasn't, and that's what led to me drinking more.
Yeah.
And now, you know, I'm great. Do I miss the job? I don't know. Sometimes
So yeah, that's
you
what
miss
I
that
was-
squad.
I do.
You miss that camaraderie that you all had.
If I had the opportunity, if they said, well, everybody's going to be on the same squad, you're going back to the way it was then, and I know that's never possible, I would say sign me up.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
But-
I'd go back to that in a heartbeat. But I remember when I got that phone call from him. I'd been out for a little bit, and he's like, "Well, do you miss it? Is it something because
Yeah.
you were considering it at the time?" I said, "No." I said, "Honestly, with what we had went through, what the changes that we're going through, I was like, it's the best for my mental health and for my family's lifestyle and for all that." I said, "This is the best decision I've made is to get out."
Yeah.
Now, do I wish that I could have continued and and done that and stayed? Yeah, and I miss the camaraderie and stuff, but I don't know that I necessarily miss the bureaucracy of the job, because that's what
No.
it was becoming. Is
It went from us having fun
yeah,
to, oh crap, you know, we've got to deal with what we deal with on a routine. It's not fun no more. To it's getting political. To
Mhm.
we have a lot of uncertainties. That's gonna.
it became more stress than you already
Yeah.
had the normal stress of being a police officer, and then we weren't well liked by the public. On
Yeah.
top of that, and then on top of that, you had all the other added stressors from admin. So I mean, it just wasn't. When you start dreading a job going into work, it's time to find something else.
If I would have known, and I didn't know this at the time, but my goal was to make it, when I went up to Danville PD, the way they are is what I was trying to thrive in. And I didn't know who they were until I went up there, and I was like,
They've got
this
it
is
figured
they've got it figured out as far as, and Jake, you've landed at a great department, I think, and
Oh yeah.
they still have the fun. They still, I feel like the camaraderie
Well,
is good.
they let you police. There's not,
And
an
it's
agenda.
different.
There's
And
not-
the big difference up there, bigger city, what makes it better, because their call volume is not nearly what London is, but the difference is I-75. They can actually go and actually solve things and do things
Yeah.
and not have to worry about a
Right.
46 or something crazy
Yeah.
on that, or some and people in transit pulling into London that's bad
I-
people.
I will say
It's so
that
different.
in the conversations that I've had with them up there, that one statement stands out, and it was that they're like, "What was your style? What was your ideal style of policing?" And I was like, "Well, this is what." And they said, "Well, here's what our idea of it is. You do what you're good at, and it makes us look good.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's not an agenda, so it's
That's
They
how we
figured
was.
that out.
That's-
Yeah.
They figured that out up there probably in the last 5-6 years, I think. But if I would have known who they were, because John and Hobie came down from Danville and during Logan when they helped us out during that time, and but I really didn't know who they were, but when I went up there, I was like, if I'd have known that, I'd have been calling you guys all the time, running this, see what y'all do on things. But they really, that's a good place that you've landed, and I think that's helped save, a lot of.
And
if you're
I think
police.
there's more agencies out there like that than there is with what we've dealt with, just because of the small town politics and stuff that we have to deal with here.
Yeah.
So
it was unique, refreshing to say, hey,
yeah,
dang it, this is what I was going for.
Yeah.
And but,
yeah.
it's
I mean,
fun.
I don't regret any of it. I'm glad that I got to do it. I don't know that I'd go back, but
Like I said, the only way I would go back.
yeah, I
is
mean that
under that.
that was kind of a unicorn shift that we had
It was,
anyway. So you know,
Yeah.
Like I was.
You get those every now and then, and I feel like I've been a part of that unicorn shift where you can
Yeah.
trust your leadership, you can trust the man next to you. Even the rookies that would come on would figure it out pretty quick. We would help train those. We weren't afraid to be like, you're messing up here.
well,
need
and
to
yeah,
straighten this
and
up."
you've got and laws have changed, things are stricter. The climate has changed as far as
Yeah.
far as play. So there's a lot.
We
that's-
all policed during the COVID years and the George Floyd years, and we saw the huge change that happened with the trust towards police. So it's eye opening. Really.
It is. Yeah.
I don't know how. We've said that on multiple podcasts. Like, how do you get people to do this job now?
I don't know. Well, I mean, that's.
I mean, you can
I
throw
don't-
money at it, and money will go so far, but it's still not
But
worth
as a
it.
young person, there's no way I'd get into this job now.
You would have to. The retirement needs to go back to 20 years
It does.
because it's not an old man's game.
Well, that's something that I considered. I'm
yeah.
sure you did too. I was like, I'm gonna have to work till I'm in my 50s
Yeah,
to retire.
and not
Well, it
make
was
any
like in the
money, really.
private sector, I can work if I work 3 more years, I can retire. 3 more years than what I would have had to have with
And make more
an agency.
money.
Make more money, have better schedule, not have to sacrifice time with my youngin.
And that's why there's such a push to bring back us old folks. Because nobody else will do it. Let's draw them out of retirement here. Let's
Well,
do
and
this.
getting somebody that can go through and have the same drive and determination, and let's face it, with some of the people that we had that, some of them might have made it and been all right, but then they didn't stick with it long enough, or they were just couldn't hack it.
and that's fine. You want to know.
Yeah.
And
There's
some
no-
people just
yeah.
want to scratch that itch, man.
There
It's
is
like,
a-
is there
There's no
something I
shame
wanna-
in that, getting into it and being like, yeah, this ain't for me.
Yeah,
but
and that's
then there's
fine.
some people that are just
I actually have more respect. And I'm not going to bring up no names, but there was a guy that came and trained with us. He went to the academy and he was like, "This ain't for me."
Yeah.
And I respect that more than anybody that would sit there
that's smart. It's like
and keep making mistakes, because there's going to be a point in time whenever you're going to need to rely on that person. And if he's not in his right headspace,
Yeah,
your
If he's doubting his,
abilities to
Yeah,
do whatever,
just-
I mean,
Yeah.
it's just
let's make a
What-
swap while you can.
one last thing that I'll say, and then we'll tell a funny story or whatever, is if there's anybody out there that has seen yourself in my shoes, I don't care if you all want to put my phone number on there or whatever, just call me. Don't make a mistake. Not that I've made a mistake, but I don't know what words I'm looking for, but I will do anything I can to help you.
don't let what you trying to say is don't let the stress and the everything eat at you so much to where you make decisions that you can't are irreversible.
Exactly. That's where I'm going.
When
with
you
it.
try to mass mental, the whole, I guess, when you're trying to pick up a bottle instead of calling and talking, mistakes are made. Your livelihood could be taken. You never know how that could leave you. So the best, instead of reaching out and finding it in a bottle, sometimes reach out and call us, because there's nobody that's had more PTS probably than us.
Yeah.
We've, from military stuff with Jake and policing,
I mean,
to losing a friend.
Let alone 2 in 1 year.
Yeah, 2 in 1 year.
Yeah.
Not to mention, you was wearing those bracelet things for years from friends you've lost in the military, and dealing with those things. We've been there. We've done it, and and you don't have to be alone. You can reach out. All our stuff's on Instagram and stuff that you can reach out and.
And we all deal with this stuff differently. You may, my thing was, I've talked about it before, me and my wife had a pretty open, dialogue about all of it, and I got a lot of it off my chest with her, because, that's trusted, and I never did any of the therapy and stuff, and I probably should have, but that was kind of my outlet was with her. I mean, so you don't have to go to therapy. It's a good idea, I think.
Yeah, even if you've not went through something tragic, it's not going to hurt you.
No.
But
I mean,
but
Decompressing.
just getting it out there, getting it off your chest,
Talking
bouncing,
about it.
yeah, bouncing ideas off, and saying. I mean,
'Cause
we
I-
have this stigma that it's weak to
Yeah.
talk about this stuff, or it's weak to, and it's not.
Well,
It's-
that's like me. You know, I would be open somewhat with my wife, but I wouldn't tell her everything.
Yeah.
I would talk to Jake or you a
Yeah.
lot more.
because we understood.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
been
And
there,
it's
we
not
know.
nothing against her, but it's just like,
You don't want to have to explain something, and then it also explain.
yeah. I mean, and
Let
I
me
would-
explain this to you, and now let me explain why this bothers me. So it's like,
It's
You want me to tell her?
let's end on something funny
yeah,
because
end it with a good note
It-
here.
it got
We've got Solemn here.
no, it's important though.
Yeah,
It is
it's very
important,
important. And like I said, I'm here. I don't care. I work around the clock because I want to now, not because I have to. But call me. I don't care what time it is. Where you want to go with this? And
Wherever you want to, whatever you. This is your.
we'll go with the Walmart shoplifter. I'll try not to get vulgar the best I can. It's definitely
This is a kid-friendly show, all right?
yeah.
We did put explicit on our.
Every one of them had explicit.
Well, so I've got 2 stories wrote down for this story because there was 2 different parts of it. The first, I'll just start from the beginning. So we received a complaint of a shoplifter at Walmart, which would happen pretty regular.
Every day.
Yeah, pretty regular. Every day, if not
multiple times
multiple
a day.
times. And those guys are, I mean, they're hustlers. They work their butt off to try to make a difference. And I don't know if they'll ever get caught up. But
No.
No, they never will.
anyway, so we get a call of a shoplifter at Walmart. And me being me, you know, I don't remember. It seemed like I was always close to stuff. Everybody accused me of somehow having contact with dispatch and knowing where to be at the right time or whatever. But I pull into Walmart, and usually when we pull into Walmart, we would go over on the grocery side, and they had a little office. It's the loss prevention office. So I pull up in front of those doors, and they, you know, the loss prevention guys, they come running out. They're like, "She's about to run out this side door. She's running through Walmart." And I'm like, "Oh, this sounds fun." So I floor it across the little parking lot, get out of my car, and Jake was pulling up he was pulling in right behind me, and this chick, and she might have been 60 pounds soaking wet. I mean, she was trying to push a whole buggy full of stuff out, like that she hadn't paid for, and there was a little kid in the shopping cart. And obviously, you know, you're trying to be aware of everything, and the only thing that I honed in on is, oh gosh, there's a kid with her, for whatever reason. And then she pushes the kid was in the shopping cart. She pushes the shopping cart. We're in that little breezeway in between both doors. Pushes the shopping cart to some random person and takes off booking it. Well, she didn't see me. Like, I was standing right at the front door, and she ran straight into me, and I put her on the ground because she was trying to run and evade.
Pile driver.
Well, it wasn't intentional. It really wasn't. But
He assisted her to the ground.
a little backstory to that. So we had just got done eating Mexican, and I don't know how you all feel about Mexican, but I've been in 1 foot pursuit right after we ate Mexican. I said it'd never happen again because I had to go back and re-eat again because I lost all of it. But I said,
Gotta eat some white though.
yeah, I said I'll never chase somebody 30 minutes after eating Mexican. And I think I just got my cruiser from Mexican and went over there.
Just imagine if you had to jump in a pool or something.
Yeah, oh my gosh. But Mexican, it was
Say 20
delicious.
minutes, but if it's Mexican, it's about 4 hours.
Yeah, it's delicious, but I never tried to eat more than my belly could withstand, especially working. But anyway, so I I grab her and put her on the ground, cuff her. I'm like, I got you. Go and get the kid or whatever. So somehow, and I don't remember every little detail, we all end up back on the grocery side, the kids in the loss prevention office, and I was out there dealing with the female, and some man, he was elderly, he comes beating on my door, or on my glass, and I was like, uh-oh, I was like, is this a threat? What's going on here? And I didn't roll my window down, I got out, because I wanted to at least be a little bit tactical. She's still in the back of my car, and I was like, can I help you, sir? And he just starts dog cussing me. I mean, I seen what you done to that woman. You should be whatever of yourself. And I was like, what do you want me to do? Just chase and run side by side with her? I mean, what do you want me to do? He said, I don't know. I said, who are you? He said, I'm a cop. And I said, you're a cop? Where are you a cop at? And at this point, I was already a little bit frustrated because, one, my belly didn't feel good. My adrenaline
Tum-tum was hurt.
It was. My adrenaline had spiked, and then now I got this old man yelling at me because I stopped somebody from trying to push out a whole shopping cart full of items from Walmart, and he's like, I'm a cop, yada, yada, yada. So I think I yelled at you, and I'm like, at Jake, and I was like, Jake, there's a guy out here saying he's a cop. He wants to file a complaint on me. And before Jake got out there, I was like, where are you a cop at? He said, Manchester. And I was like, well, all right, whatever. I was like, I got my supervisor on the way. Did you ever actually get to talk to him, or did he take off before you got there?
I think he left before I got out.
Yeah, Jake was inside. I was like, I got my supervisor on the way. And like in the back of my head, I was like, I'm going to arrest this guy, for impersonating a police officer, because you can tell a cop from a mile away most of the time, and he was definitely not a cop. We make some, long story short, we make some phone calls. I take her to jail. He was a card carrier, and I think they went.
Took it from him.
They went and took
his card
and revoked
They went
his
to his
card.
house.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Took up all the stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it was just one of them things where, like, it was a bad situation already. Didn't want to do what I did, but I had to do it. And then I got some old man yelling at me because I did my job. I was like,
That's nothing unusual, though.
Never worked the road a day in his life.
no, he didn't even know what was. He wouldn't even. I don't know if he was related to the girl or if he knew.
probably the
No, he
getaway
wasn't involved at
He
all.
was just some random
He just
bystander.
saw
And
it, yeah.
in hindsight 2020, it probably did look pretty bad.
She wasn't hurt, though.
No,
It's
she
all
didn't
right.
get hurt.
He had
I
a
mean,
Facebook, so he was automatically a lawyer, a cop, and a doctor.
Yeah. But it was just one of those, going back to me being me, one of those situations that typically would just go over like a breeze, go to a normal call, and it just escalated and turned into a mess. I mean,
That is, yeah.
that's
Joey's career in
You guys,
just a mess.
I remember working. Speaking of old men coming out and just, you remember when we used to do Thursday Night Live on
Yeah.
Main Street, right? Before they built the fancy park. Well, they would line up all these people sitting right in Main Street. Y'all remember it? And we were sitting there. We're like, it was one of them days where it was like 4th of July, that right before, and they had like some power company trucks were out there with a big flag, and there was like vendors and stuff on the other end, and it was actually for the first time like wheel blocked off. This old man gets out of the car, stops traffic. He gets
I
out
remember
and comes
Raising
out
Cane's.
yelling at me.
Yeah, I remember. I don't know what.
Not because of blocking traffic, inconvenience. What if who's in charge of security here? I said, me. What if they run, don't you watch the news? The terrorists coming, running people over. I mean, he's right. All these things that we was always like, this is a horrible idea. Well, it could have just been a drunk coming through there,
Yeah.
or some old woman that's just like, I got to go down Main Street because I don't know how to turn. Or man, old woman or man. But we're going to get canceled.
Caught yourself there.
Yeah. But
Well, this was our last episode. Hope you enjoyed it.
you just never know. But man, he came out there and said, "Listen, sir, by far, this is the most blocked off it's ever been. By far.
Yeah.
Oh man, he cussed me for
Yeah,
10 minutes and had a traffic stop. I said, "Sir, you're causing bigger traffic problem than that. So won't you just go on?" Man, he got all over
Go
me.
forth and prosper.
Yeah, man.
You deal with people like that all the time. Like, you don't know, most of the time, walking up to somebody that's elderly, you think, oh, they're gonna, be respectful. Oh no, not today's time. I mean, they'll fly blow you before somebody younger will.
That's
nowadays,
right.
Yeah.
For no reason.
They've earned it at that point.
Yeah, I mean,
Let them.
If I,
go.
if I make
Yeah.
it to those at that age, I'm gonna be hateful and
You just let 'em
cantankerous
be.
too.
You all have had it.
Yeah.
I can't believe you are out
My
here.
shoes hurt my feet. It's all your fault.
Such dumb stuff.
I've not pooped in 3 weeks. Tito will never be able to say that.
uh-oh. That's his code word. Uh-oh.
I gotta go.
Gotta go.
I have not got up and walked off to pee on this
You've done
episode.
good in this. And this has been a long one.
How long we at?
We're almost at 3 hours.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh!
Yeah.
Hey,
Say 3?
Yeah.
this has been a ball.
Yeah.
Good times.
But we could sit here and talk all day. but
I've
we'll,
got more stories if you want to go, or if you want to.
we'll cut it
Save
here.
'em.
We'll do it again, and then save them. Save them
Save
for
'em.
next time.
Hopefully, we don't run out of guests, but
Oh, we ain't going to.
We're
No,
not gonna,
it's
no,
fine.
we've got a plethora.
yeah.
It's
So,
a $5 word for you.
so we'll cut it.
$20
We'll cut
is
it right
$20,
That's exactly right.
according to dispatch.
Yeah,
we
we're-
ready to cut her down?
I think
Yeah.
so.
Hey, this has been a ball.
Yeah.
Thanks
yeah.
for coming, Jay,
Yeah.
No problem.
and always
Yep.
Joey.
Listen, this is
Somebody had to keep Joey in line.
Yeah.
Jake's the
Here's the
lion
fact check.
tamer.
I've been kicking him under the table.
Good old Jake.
What you
Patton.
can't see is Jake's had him on a leash this whole time. Joke collar.
It's fun stuff.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll catch you on the next one.
See ya.